Chapter 2558. In fact, in the southern part of the Broken Dream Realm, Empress Star Rain's presence was nowhere near as strong as Emperor Xiaohao's. This was because not only was Grand Emperor Vast Sky a ruler, he was also a pure-blooded descendant of the chief sovereign of time. He had mastered the powerful and extraordinary time domain. Even against a Tao Lord, Emperor Xiaohao might not necessarily lose. We've actually come to Emperor Xiaohao's holy city. Hall Master Wonderful Fragrance's expression changed drastically. Everyone knew the relationship between Emperor Xiaohao and Empress Star Rain. It would not be an exaggeration to say that they were enemies of life and death. As the subjects of Empress Star Rain, it was not a good thing for them to appear in the northern holy city. How long will it take to get to Nanming City? Su Yu asked. Hall Master Wonderful Fragrance said with certainty, if we hurry, it will take at least 10 years. The distance between the two places was simply too great. 10 years. Su Yu raised his brows slightly. The last time he fought with Emperor Xiaohao was 5 or 6 years ago. Could it be that Emperor Xiaohao was still on his way back? Unless we take the time-flying ship of northern Ming City. The time-flying ship was an ultimate Tao artifact that the Time Sovereign had personally set up in the various sacred cities. It was filled with the powerful and extraordinary power of time. Sitting on it would allow one to enter a state of accelerated time. A journey that should have taken 10 years could be shortened by 10 times. Therefore, they only needed a short year to reach southern Ming City. Let's go into the city. Su Yu put on a special conical bamboo hat, which allowed him to detect everything. Hall Master Miaoxiang and Yu Xiangwan pondered for a while, and did not refute. 10 years on the road was too long. After the three of them entered the city, they went straight to the main hall where the time-flying ship was. One had to buy a ticket to board the time-flying ship. Do you need 3 tickets to southern Ming City? The ticket seller nodded and said, You've come at a bad time. The ship has just left, and the next one will have to wait for a year. 1 year? Su Yu thought for a moment, then said, It doesn't matter. We can buy tickets for the ship that will depart a year from now. All right, 1 ticket is 2 million time crystals, the ticket seller said. 2 million? Even Su Yu couldn't help but click his tongue. Isn't the price too expensive? Apart from the sex, who else could take out 2 million? Moreover, there were 3 of them, so they would need about 6 million time crystals. To them, it was an astronomical figure. If you don't have enough money, please come again next time. Su Yu and the others could only leave for the time being, find an inn, and clean up the 3 people's belongings. I only have 2 million time crystals left. This was the time crystal that Su Yu had obtained when he was in charge of selling the faction's 9 Serenities crystals. It was just that after returning to the Greater One sect, a series of encounters occurred, and he did not have the time to hand it over. But that was all. Then, he looked at Yu Xiangwan and Hall Master Miaoxiang. The head of the Wonderful Fragrance Hall was better off. She had been in charge of the exchange hall for many years and had some savings, but it was only 1 million. Yu Xiangwan, on the other hand, was empty. Except for the 60,000 time crystals that Su Yu owed him. Only enough for 1 ticket. The Miaoxiang clan's mistress shook her silver teeth. She kept 100,000 time crystals as a backup and handed the rest to Su Yu. You guys go ahead. I'll pass. The eyes of the hall master of the Wonderful Fragrance Hall dimmed. The Greater One sect has been destroyed. Even if I return to the southern part of the Dream Break boundary, it would be useless. Ever since she came to the Dream Broken boundary from the outer realms, she had always been in the Supreme Sect. It was her home. Now that her home had been destroyed, her whereabouts were unknown. Therefore, she left the only chance of getting a ticket to Su Yu and Yu Xiang. It was the 2 of them who had saved her along the way that she had been able to avoid dying in the internal strife of the Greater One sect. She was willing to give 900,000 time crystals to them. Su Yu waved his hand. Don't hurry, let me clean up the rest of the things first. Two objects appeared in his palm. One of them was the second in-charge space storage device. Back then, she had been killed by the heaven-destroying seal, and the space storage device had been left behind by Suyu. Opening it, the three of them glanced inside and were all moved. 3 million time crystals. With the financial resources of the Greater One sect, 3 million was roughly equivalent to the annual income of the Greater One sect. It could be seen how much the second in charge had pocketed over the years and embezzled from the faction. There's already 5 million. Everyone's faces relaxed slightly. They were still short of 1 million. Unfortunately, as they continued to search, they did not find anything valuable. Instead, a letter caught their attention. On that letter, there was a faint time domain seal. Suyu took it out, a cold look in his eyes. It went without saying who this time domain seal came from. Xiaohao. With a flick of his finger, a touch of the power of time successfully flicked off the seal, revealing the contents of the letter. The grand event is imminent, and you must open the 9 netherworld as soon as possible. Grand event? What kind of grand event did Xiaohao need to pay attention to? However, why was Xiaohao so eager to ask them to open the 9 netherworld? Suyu pondered, and hundreds of possibilities flashed in his mind. After a thorough analysis, his eyes flickered slightly. Xiaohao has played a big game of chess. He's so cruel for a sister who hasn't even awakened the bloodline of time, Suyu murmured. Suyu murmured to himself, the competition among the descendants of the Time Master is much more serious than I thought. He already knew what Xiaohao was going to do. Once, Xiaohao personally led a group of strong men to the mine where the 9 nether demon lived. Including the Star Rain Empress and the others, they all thought that Xiaohao coveted the 9 nether crystals inside. However, in fact, that was not the case. His plan was not just the 9 nether crystals. What he wanted was to use the hands of the 9 nether demon and the phoenix to destroy the southern part of the dream-broken realm. What happened when the Great In Charge and the others broke into the ancient god realm of the 9 nether? It led to a collective battle between the phoenix and the 9 nether demon. It was just that the 9 nether demon retreated, and the battle did not break out. If the battle broke out and the 9 nether demon was greatly injured, would he be able to keep the Black Feather Gate in his hands? If he was not wrong, the strong men that Xiaohao had sent back then did not all leave. They were still lurking in the depths of the mine, waiting for the 9 nether demon to be greatly injured to snatch the Black Feather Gate. By then, both gates would be in Xiaohao's hands. If he opened both gates in the territory of the Star Rain Empress at the same time, what would happen? The Phoenix and the 9 nether demon rushed out of the ancient god realm together. With the power of the Phoenix and the 9 nether demon, the entire southern part of the dream-broken realm would be destroyed in an instant. The head steward and the second steward were merely bait for Xiaohao. Unfortunately, man proposes, God disposes. The group of strong men hiding in the abyss had obtained the Black Feather Gate. But the White Feather Gate that Xiaohao had obtained had fallen into Suyu's hands. Xiaohao, I did not want to be involved in the dispute between the Time Masters, but you want to be my enemy. Suyu's eyes were filled with cold light. It would have been fine if he did not know, but since he did, how could he let him have his way? With a pinch of his fingers, Suyu crushed the letter. Finally, he looked at the pearl of the cold feather. Chapter 2559. After pondering it for a while, Suyu realized that it was a space storage device. It was forged using a material that contained the powder of the ancient god of the netherworld's bone. No wonder the small Kylin couldn't digest it. Suyu was quite surprised. After refining it, Suyu took a look at it and couldn't help but be shocked. There were innumerable netherworld crystals inside. A third-grade netherworld crystal that was almost black in color. A purplish-black rank 4. A purple rank 5. There were so many of them that they piled up into several mountains. Even 100 years of mining in the entire southern region of the Broken Dream Realm would not be able to match up to this amount. Suyu's heart was at ease. The money was settled. With so many 9 nether crystals, he would be able to gather 6 million time crystals just by casually selling some of them. However, Su Yu's attention was focused on another object. It was a cauldron that was as black as ink. The cauldron was filled with boiling blood, giving off a strong smell of blood. Surprisingly, there was actually a drop of ancient god 9 Nether's blood. In addition, there were many corpses of the netherworld demons near the cauldron. What does she want to do? How could Su Yu forget that Cold Feather still wanted Su Yu's soul and Yu Xiangwan's blood? Suddenly, Su Yu caught a glimpse of a book. With a thought, Zhang Xian took it out. He flipped it open and saw that it was written in the Heavenly Book. In the language of the human race, the few Heavenly Book characters on the cover meant Rebirth Heaven Scripture. As he flipped through the content, Su Yu was surprised to discover something. The Heaven's Scroll of Rebirth was a very evil scripture. By extracting the precious bloodline of other living beings, he would condense it into a blood pill that would allow him to transform. Shockingly, there was a method to extract the blood of a phoenix and transform into a phoenix. Could it be that Ling Yu's real body is actually a 9 nether demon? Su Yu could not help but be shocked. Cold Feather willingly acting as the 9 netherworld's demon's informant, the only motive could only be this. She herself was a demon of the netherworld. However, with the help of the Heaven's Scroll of Rebirth, he managed to cultivate a blood pill that could allow him to transform into a phoenix, and that was how he managed to sneak into their midst. What book is this? I don't know him at all. Su Yu stroked his chin and said slowly, "It's an evil, yet interesting book." He stared at the pill furnace inside, and his heart stirred. Sell these 9 nether crystals, then buy your tickets. After Su Yu had made the arrangements, he immediately entered the training room and took out the cauldron. Under Su Yu's watch, the half-refined blood continued to evaporate. 1 year passed. There was only a thin layer of blood left. Under Su Yu's careful mixing, 10 pitch-black blood pills were finally produced. These blood pills were refined from the blood of 9 Serenity's demons. Once swallowed, one would definitely become a netherworld demon. I hope that it will be of use. Su Yu's eyes shone brightly. The seclusion ended. Yu Xiangwan paced back and forth anxiously. Seeing that Su Yu had come out, he heaved a sigh of relief. I almost missed the time. Today was the day the flying boat would depart for the southern Ming city. If Su Yu still didn't come out, he was going to interrupt Su Yu's isolation. I know what I'm doing. Su Yu thought for a moment, then used the 8 great domains to create 3 new creatures. The living creature's cultivation was not high, only at the fairy realm. However, his eyes were full of intelligence. Greetings, Creator. To them, Su Yu was their creator. Su Yu took out 2 blood pills and gave them to 2 of them to swallow. After swallowing, they immediately turned into netherworld demons. Yu Xiangwan was shocked by this scene. It's amazing. He actually turned a creature of another race into a netherworld demon. Su Yu chuckled. To be precise, the Heaven Scripture of Rebirth was amazing. The 2 of you hide here and wait for my order before acting. Yes, Creator. Su Yu looked at the last created creature, took out the white feather gate and said, Take good care of this gate. Don't lose it, understand? Yes, Creator. Su Yu waved his sleeves and hid the creature holding the white feather gate somewhere else. The other 2 creatures waited where they were. Okay, let's go. Yu Xiangwan frowned slightly. Brother Su, what is the meaning of this? Su Yu shook his head. Nothing, just a precaution. They met up with Hall Master Miaoxiang and came to the Time Palace. There was a huge ship that was floating in the time domain, and there were already dozens of people sitting on it. Su Yu and the other 2 boarded the boat with tickets. In the evening, it was time to set off. Several white-robed elders came over and jointly launched the formation under the time realm to release the flying boat. In another year, Su Yu would be able to return to the south successfully. When he returned, the first thing he would do was to explore the ancient tomb of the demon faction, find the sinful lady temple, and resurrect Yun Yazi as soon as possible. If there was a chance, he would not hesitate to use the power of the Star Rain Empress. Buzz, the formation trembled, and the time-flying boat was about to set off. However, at this moment, 2 rows of heavily armored soldiers rushed over on magical weapons and surrounded the Time Palace. A handsome young man with blonde hair stepped forward with his hands behind his back. His long and narrow eyes narrowed slightly as he stared at the hundreds of people on the flying boat. "Greetings, great Emperor Xiaohao." The white-robed people's faces changed dramatically, and they knelt down to pay their respects. All the people in the Time Palace also knelt down to pay their respects. "Xiaohao." Su Yu's heart skipped a beat. Yu Xiangwan also had an ugly expression. As a descendant of the ancient god corpse ancestor, Yu Xiangwan knew better than Su Yu about the hatred between the ancient gods and the rulers. When the descendants of the two sides met, it would definitely be a situation where they would fight to the death. Why did Xiaohao suddenly appear? Great Emperor Xiaohao came with his hands behind his back and smiled lightly. "The people who stole my house of white feather, are you very surprised that I have come in person?" Hearing this, Yu Xiangwan and Hall Master Miaoxiang's hearts beat violently. Just as they were about to show a strange expression, Su Yu transmitted a message in time. "It's a trick, don't be fooled, stay calm." The two of them immediately suppressed the panic in their hearts, showing some confusion. They looked at each other as if they were completely unaware of what was going on. Little did they know that just now, Great Emperor Xiaohao had used the time realm to carefully observe everyone's expressions. Yu Xiangwan and Hall Master Miaoxiang were lucky enough to escape and did not give themselves away. Sure enough, Xiaohao raised his eyebrows slightly. Obviously, he had simply probed everyone's expressions just now, but he did not get what he wanted. The reason why Xiaohao came in person was that he was sure that the people who stole the House of White Feather would use the time-flying boat to leave as soon as possible for safety reasons. Therefore, he had been biding his time. It was only when the time-flying boat was about to depart that he suddenly surrounded the thieves and tried to capture them. Unfortunately, it seemed that he did not get what he wanted. "Everyone, take off your disguises," Emperor Xiaohao berated, feeling a little indignant in his heart. Su Yu's eyes narrowed slightly. Slowly, he touched his special bamboo hat. If his true appearance was exposed, he and Xiaohao would inevitably fight again. If it was elsewhere, it would be fine. With his current realm, he was not afraid of fighting Xiaohao. Chapter 2560. Immediately now, Xiaohao stared at a few of the hesitant people. His eyes were deep and sharp, and a time domain lingered around him. Of course, not all of them were Su Yu. Perhaps they were all people whose identities could not be exposed, such as wanted criminals or spies in Nanming City. However, it was very likely that the thieves were among them. The group of people had no choice but to remove their disguises. Xiaohao looked at them one by one, and when his eyes locked on Su Yu, he raised his eyebrows slightly. Because Su Yu had not taken off his bamboo hat. Just as he was about to scold them, a strange aura suddenly erupted not far away from the Time Palace. It was a strong aura of death. Soon after, a particularly beautiful song floated over from the aura. The song was ethereal and beautiful like the sounds of nature. Everyone was immersed in the song, unable to extricate themselves. Even Xiaohao fell for a moment. But he shook his head and got rid of the temptation of the song, and his pupils constricted. 9 Serenity's charm. Only the 9 Serenity's charm could have such a song. And there was only one place that had the 9 Serenity's charm. The ancient god realm of the 9 Serenities. The only way to reach Biming City from the ancient god realm of the 9 Serenities was through the White Feather Gate. The White Feather Gate. Over there. Xiaohao broke through the air. The guards behind him immediately gave up the siege of the Time Palace and chased after him. The group of white-robed elders heaved a long sigh of relief. After looking at each other, they did not know whether to continue activating the time domain. Please activate the time domain immediately, a masked man urged. He was so, and the others were even more so. They did not want to be questioned by Xiaohao again. The white-robed elders hesitated. Xiaohao did not give the order to let them go. If they continued now, what would happen if he blamed them later? Set off immediately. I will give each of you 1,000,000 time crystals. The masked man took out 5 small bags and showed them to the white-robed elders. Bribes? The white-robed elders were naturally tempted. They worked hard here day after day, year after year, and the pay they received was negligible. 1,000,000 was indeed a large sum. The white-robed elders looked at each other and nodded secretly. Xiaohao did not give the order to let them go, but he did not stop them either, did he? The white-robed elders accepted the bribe and continued to activate the time domain. However, at this moment, a cold voice came from afar. Hold off on letting them in for now. We'll talk about it when I return. Xiaohao transmitted his voice from afar. The white-robed old men's expressions flickered, and they hesitated for a moment before coming to a stop. The time vessel that was about to leave stopped again. The expressions of the people on the ship changed again. A few impersonators stood up uneasily. Forget it, I don't want to sit on it. The masked man immediately stood up as he turned around and prepared to jump off the airboat. However, his face sank and he found that there was a time domain barrier around the flying boat, blocking the entire flying boat. He couldn't leave even if he wanted to. Everyone, Xiaohao has an order. Please wait patiently, the white-robed elders said seriously. They each maintained the operation of the formation, urging the time domain to seal the small boat. No one on the flying boat could escape. This time, everyone was like a turtle in a jar. Yu Xiangwan's expression tensed up. We're in big trouble. Not only did they fail to leave, they fell into Xiaohao's trap and became turtles in a jar. Once Xiaohao returned, they would have nowhere to hide. It's Xiaohao who is in trouble, not us. Suyu stood up slowly and walked to the edge of the flying boat. The white-robed elders immediately scolded, Sit back down, don't act rashly, and listen to great Emperor Xiaohao's command. Suyu stood at the bow of the flying boat with his hands clasped behind his back, and said calmly, Now, I should be the one commanding Xiaohao. The white-robed elders looked at each other. What does he mean? How is he commanding Xiaohao? Tell Xiaohao that we will meet again. Suyu tapped his right palm lightly on the boat. A powerful time domain was suddenly launched. The time domain that had sealed the flying boat was instantly shattered by this time domain. In an instant, the flying boat was freed and slid into the incomparably long tunnel of time. The white-robed elders were shocked. Time domain. You? Which time master's descendant are you? As they roared, they tried to seal the flying boat. However, the flying boat had disappeared in the blink of an eye, like a green dragon in the sea. On the other side, Xiaohao tracked the source of the aura and the song. The 2 nether demons stood in the yard, unhurried, as if they had deliberately lured Xiaohao here. Who let you out? Xiaohao shouted. The 2 of them smiled, and their souls slowly dissipated. Suyu had created them, but he had only given them a short life. It was better to dissipate painlessly and without memories than to be caught and tortured to death by Xiaohao. Dead. He walked up and grabbed the 2 corpses, extremely puzzled. How could they suddenly die? They appeared suddenly, and then died suddenly. Then, he realized something and said abruptly, Oh no! We've been tricked. Go back quickly. He led the guards back immediately. What came into sight was a group of extremely corrupt white-robed elders. As for the time-flying boat, it was long gone. Bastard! Who allowed you to let go of the flying boat without permission? Xiaohao's aura reverberated around him, causing the white-robed elders to vomit blood. The white-robed elders hurriedly knelt down and begged for mercy. Great Emperor, please don't be angry. We didn't let it go, but a descendant of the Time Master appeared on the flying boat. He released the Time Realm and let the flying boat go. Moreover, He asked us to tell the young master that you will meet again. Xiao Hao was surprised to hear that. A descendant of the Time Master? His eyes were filled with deep surprise. Could it be the two from Dongming City and Ximing City? Or is it the descendant of the ancient god Jielong? Xiao Hao's eyes became sharp. Xiao Hao asked, "How high is the level of the opponent's time realm?" "Mid-level realm." Xiao Hao's face softened. It should be one from Dongming City or Ximing City. Su Yu, the descendant of the ancient god Jielong, controlled 8 great realms at the same time. It would be extremely difficult to upgrade all of them. Humph, I was wondering how the White Feather Gate could be forcefully broken through the formation and stolen. It turns out that it was the doing of those 2 reckless fools. Xiao Hao's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He took one last look at the time tunnel and said coldly, "If you want to leave safely, it depends on how capable you are." Whoosh! A caterpillar appeared in his palm, its body exuding an extremely dense aura of time. This was an artifact that the Time Master had personally bestowed upon him. Just like the defensive sachet that Empress Star Rain had obtained from the Heavenly Law Master. Xiao Hao also had an artifact that the Time Master had bestowed upon him. Moreover, it was an offensive artifact. Go! He waved his hand, and the caterpillar burrowed into the time tunnel. The white-robed elders' expressions changed when they saw this, and they exclaimed, "Great Emperor, this might destroy the time tunnel." Chapter 2561. "Don't worry, I know what I'm doing." Xiao Hao sneered. The time-flying boat traveled. Everyone on the ship let out a long sigh of relief. Many people looked at Su Yu with reverence and fear in their eyes. Under the rule of the Time God, the young man before him could only be a descendant of the Time God, right? The generous masked man sized Su Yu up and took the initiative to greet him. "Sir, how should I address you?" Su Yu glanced at him. He had a deep impression of this person. Just like that, he was able to bribe a few million yuan. His net worth was so high that it left people speechless. Su Yu. Very few people in the dream-broken realm knew his name. Unexpectedly, the masked man was startled for a moment. What a coincidence! My young mistress often mentions a human called Su Yu. Human, Su Yu? It seemed a little coincidental. But thinking about it carefully, there were many humans in the broken dream realm. It was normal to have people with the same name. Oh! Su Yu's expression was indifferent, as he tried his best not to reveal any information about himself. The masked man said, "It's all thanks to you that we could get rid of Xiao Hao. Otherwise, if we were stopped by this person, even if we didn't do anything wrong, we would still be skinned alive." The others deeply agreed with this. Xiao Hao did have a bad reputation. He was ruthless and cruel, tyrannical and overbearing. He looked refined on the surface, but it was actually the opposite. Those who were familiar with him were not willing to have a deep relationship with him. "You don't need to thank me," Su Yu said calmly, giving off a cold and unapproachable aura. The masked man tried to befriend him several times but failed. He could only retreat resentfully. The flying vessel fell silent. There was still a year to go. There was still a long way to go. Everyone was silently meditating. Su Yu noticed that the masked man's technique was very special. It didn't seem like an ordinary creature at all. However, this had nothing to do with Su Yu. He closed his eyes and thought about his next plan. If he wanted to go to the ancient tomb of the demon sect, he needed someone from the demon sect to lead the way. Jin Yu once said that the ancient tomb of the demon sect would only open when the demon lord of each generation died, and the body of the demon lord would be buried inside. Other than that, no one knew where the ancient tomb of the demon sect was and how to open it. But who should he look for? Jin Yu's status was too low, so her help was limited. But how could it be so easy to bribe a member of the evil cult who had a high status? While he was thinking, far away in the ancient god domain of the Nine Nether, in the abyss, the earth shook and the mountains shook. The gap blocked by Su Yu was finally broken by the phoenixes. They had already been trapped here, fighting against the 9 Serenities demon for an entire month. Both sides suffered casualties. Among them, the casualties of the 9 Serenities demons were even heavier. However, they outnumbered the phoenixes. The battle continued. Only the 9 Serenities demon would emerge victorious. The 9th Nether Succubus Empress was gasping for breath, and there were many hideous wounds on her body. Because he had been injured by ancient god 9 Nether's fingernails, it was very difficult for the wound to heal. She gritted her teeth and glared at the Phoenix King. "I didn't expect you to be so difficult to deal with." The charming queen of the 9th Nether Demonic Empress thought to herself that she had miscalculated. They thought that they would be able to capture all of the phoenixes in one fell swoop by relying on their large numbers. But who knew that the phoenix's strength was even greater than he had imagined? This was especially true for the Phoenix King, which was almost equivalent to the sum of all the other phoenixes. Actually, according to the 9 Nether Succubus Empress' original plan, they would quietly reproduce for a few more decades, allowing the number of 9 Nether Succubi to expand to the limit. That would be the best time to destroy the phoenix in one fell swoop. Unfortunately, Coldfeather had secretly informed them that a human had already exposed the secret that they could enter and leave ancient god 9 Nether at will. Out of helplessness, they had no choice but to act in advance. Under the hasty preparations, they did not manage to obtain the expected victory. The Phoenix King's eyes were cold. 9 Nether Demon, I will settle this debt with you sooner or later. Let's go. Since the passage had been opened, there was naturally no need for them to continue fighting. The charming Empress of the 9 Nether Demonic Empress had also suffered a great deal of damage to her vitality, and she did not wish to continue fighting. Just like that, the two sides tacitly retreated. Phoenix King returned to its nest. He angrily searched for Su Yu and the others, but they were nowhere to be seen. What replaced it was the remnants of Coldfeather's blood on the white feather gate. A trace of blood had clearly passed through the giant door. They successfully opened the white feather gate and escaped? The Phoenix King finally understood and flew into a rage. That damned ancient god Jiulong's successor. He deceived me again. He had set him up in the abyss, causing the Phoenix clan to suffer heavy losses. In the end, he clearly had the ability to open the white feather gate, but he kept it a secret. He had planned for the Phoenix and the 9 Serenities demon to fight, and then he would calmly leave. However, even though he was furious, he couldn't do anything to Su Yu. As for the charming Empress of the 9 Nether Demonic Empress, for safety's sake, he led his people out of the abyss and reached the outside world. Protect me, I need to heal my injuries. The 9 Nether Demon Queen touched the wounds on her body, her expression ugly. Several powerful 9 Nether Demons immediately surrounded the 9 Nether Demon Queen. Time passed slowly, and the Queen entered a deep level of healing. Suddenly, from above the mine, hundreds of strong men appeared without warning. Each of them was holding a masculine object that could restrain the Corpse Clan. In particular, they all had a talisman that contained terrifying flames. The talisman contained extremely rich boundless karmic flames. Once it was crushed, the boundless karmic flames would fall, burning the 9 Nether Demons into ashes. Even more frightening was that they had prepared an extremely large number of these talismans. Countless 9 Nether Demons had been ambushed in the sudden situation. The 9 Nether Demon Queen suddenly opened her eyes, her expression ferocious. "How dare you!" She immediately opened her mouth and released the unique song of the 9 Nether Demons, trying to control the ambushers. However, the group of people had obviously come prepared. They all had extremely precious soul defense artifacts on them. The 9 Nether Demon Queen's attempt was futile, and her heart bled as she watched the descendants she had painstakingly nurtured being killed one by one. All retreat to the abyss. The 9 Nether Demon Queen decisively took out the black feather door and opened the door to the ancient god realm of the 9 Nether. However, at this moment, A shadow that had been hiding beside the 9 Nether Demon Queens suddenly appeared. He cut off the 9 Nether Demon Queen's arm with a palm strike, and even cut off the small black feather door in her palm. At the same time, he snatched the black feather gate with lightning-fast speed. This person was so good at concealing himself that she hadn't noticed him at all, even though he had been so close to the 9 Nether Demon Queen for so long. Only now did he suddenly attack and snatch the black feather door. After he succeeded, he immediately rushed out of the mine and fled. The 9 Nether Demon Queen was shocked and roared angrily after him. The black feather door was the foundation of her foundation, but it had been snatched away. Now that she thought about it, it was all a trap. Someone had secretly arranged for both the 9 Nether Demons and the Phoenixes to be injured so that they could reap the benefits and snatch the black feather door. The group of people who had suddenly attacked had deliberately forced the 9 Nether Demon Queen to take out the black feather door so that the hidden person could make a move. The 9 Nether Demon Queen was furious when she realized this. The Phoenixes and 9 Nether Demons, 2 great corpse races, had been played. The Phoenixes had been played by a human. The 9 Nether Demons had been played by an unknown force. All of the 9 Nether Demons charged angrily. Chapter 2562. But the group of people above the mine retreated as they fought, throwing down tens of thousands of seals to suppress them with the limitless karmic flames, giving the person in the shadows time to escape. The ordinary 9 Nether Succubi were suppressed to the point they could not move. Only the enraged 9 Nether Succubi Empress ignored the terrifying damage the flames caused to her body, and charged out of the sea of fire. Die! She flew into the sky, leaving behind a trail of bloody mist. Dozens of people who were suppressed died on the spot. But she did not have time to care about the other ambushers, immediately chasing the shadow and taking back the black feather gate. Darren, be careful! The group of ambushers could not stop the 9 Nether Succubi Empress, and were worth warning. The 9 Nether Succubi Empress was unimaginably powerful, especially now that she was going all out. The shadow held the black feather gate, and immediately crushed a spatial seal, instantly teleporting away. The 9 Nether Succubi Empress howled, turning into an afterimage as she chased. Half a day later, the shadow had already used 18 spatial seals. He was almost teleported to the vicinity of Tianqi Palace. However, the 9 Nether Succubi Empress did not give up, and the shadow that had used up all the spatial seals could not escape. You think I'm afraid of you? The latter tore off his disguise. It was not anyone else, but a tunnel master level expert of Shaohao sect. He took out a talisman of an unknown rank. That talisman was completely black and round, like a pitch-black eyeball. He placed it on his forehead, and his eyes suddenly shot out a black light that filled the sky. The black light covered the entire area in sight. The 9 Nether Succubi Empress could not avoid it, and stepped into the range of the black light. Her presence was visibly decreasing at a visible rate, and was no different from the tunnel master. Humph! With a talisman personally bestowed by the Emperor, you think you can overturn the heavens? The shadow person shouted coldly. If the 9 Nether Succubi Empress did not chase, he would not be bothered to use this talisman. After all, the amount of time crystals it consumed to use each time was an astronomical figure. He felt especially pained. But the 9 Nether Succubi Empress did not know what was good for her, so what else did he have to say? Doppelganger domain! The shadow shouted, his body splitting into 9 at a visible rate. 9 became 18. 18 became 36. Within the span of 3 breaths, his line of sight was densely covered with the figures of the dark shadow men. If you had the help of that group of 9 Serenity's demons, I would still be somewhat afraid of you. But since you've barged in, don't blame me for being ruthless. The thousands of dark shadow men berated and attacked the 9 Serenity's demons together. Every attack was extremely realistic. However, only one of them was real and the rest were fake. It was just that they couldn't tell. Even the demonic empress of the nine nether demonic empress was solemn. She opened her throat and immediately began to chant. Her beautiful voice could instantly attack the souls of living beings. However, the shadowy figure in front of him only received a negligible influence, because all the clones shared the damage caused by the song. Seeing that her song was ineffective, the ninth nether succubus empress let out a fierce roar. A black halo surged out from her body and swept in all directions. Swathes of dark shadow men's clones were destroyed. However, the power of the halo was limited. After persisting for a while, it finally weakened. Taking advantage of this opportunity, a true attack mixed in with all the other attacks struck the nine nether succubus empress head. Clang! The crown on her head fell on the spot. The nine nether succubus empress was enraged. With a sharp roar, she sprayed out large amounts of black water. In the blink of an eye, countless phantoms were destroyed. A shadowy figure clutching his arm retreated into the distance with a horrified expression. There were strong signs of aging on his body, a sign that his life force was declining. Damn it! The shadowy figure clenched his teeth, forcing out the black water that had drilled into his body through his pores. That was the water of the abyss, specialized in devouring life force. I want to see how much black water you can spit out. The shadowy figure forced himself to remain calm, once again displaying the doppelganger domain. The nine nether succubus empress did not care about the cost, madly fighting. She wanted to snatch back the black feathergate. The two sides fought for several days. From the border of the Supreme One sect, all the way to the territory of Enlightened Heaven Palace. Everywhere they passed, the earth was burned to ashes. The eternal mountain range was completely swept away. Both sides were exhausted. The shadowy figure was inwardly shocked. This was because the nine nether succubus empress cultivation had been forcibly suppressed to his own level. Otherwise, if they fought with true strength, he would have long been killed by the nine nether succubus empress. But now it seemed that he had won. The abyss water within the nine nether succubus empress body had long since been exhausted. Just now, he had suffered 9 consecutive fierce attacks from him, and his entire body was heavily injured. An incomparably dense death chi gushed out from his body. His terrifying battle prowess was already less than a third of his original strength. As long as he persisted for a while longer, he would be able to crush this nine nether demonic empress. Humph, there's a path to heaven, but you refuse to take it. There's no gate to hell, but you insist on barging in. The shadowy figure gathered his strength, preparing to deliver the final blow to the demonic empress of the nine nether demonic empress. Let's end this. With a loud roar, he used what little power he had left as a tunnel master to unleash a fatal attack on the nine nether succubus empress. The ninth nether succubus empress gritted her teeth, and with a sweep of her tail, she retreated madly. It seemed like she knew that she was no match for him and could only choose to retreat. However, it was too late to leave now. The latter's attack arrived with a loud rumble. The ninth nether succubus empress body was extremely weak, and she could only barely block it. The result was predictable. With a blood-curdling scream, half of the ninth nether succubus empress body was blasted to smithereens on the spot. She lay on the ground, barely breathing. She was on the verge of death. The dark shadow man gasped for breath, and the bead on his forehead flickered unsteadily. He was also exhausted, and no longer had the strength to continue fighting. That eye lost its source of power and naturally dimmed. The black light between heaven and earth slowly receded. The dark shadow man walked in front of the ninth nether succubus empress and laughed strangely. Hee, in any case, you're the corpse clan of a tunnel master, you should be able to sell for some money. He bent down and grabbed the ninth nether succubus empress' neck. But at this moment, the dark shadow man's expression suddenly changed, and he suddenly turned his palm to attack behind him. At the same time, he shouted loudly, "Who is it?" Pft! A sharp and powerful object directly pierced through his palm. Then, a majestic and vigorous profound way energy flowed along his palm and spread throughout his entire body, shattering him from the inside out. The dark shadow man looked down at his body, and discovered in disbelief that a large part of his chest had disappeared. What disappeared along with it was the soul that had been instantly destroyed. His mind went blank and his vision darkened. He immediately stood there motionless, unable to move. Someone as strong as the dark shadow man had been killed inexplicably. Behind him stood an expressionless bamboo hat person. She took off the bamboo hat, revealing an exceptionally beautiful face. That was none other than the baby's sister, who was being controlled by a thread of Su Yu's soul. She had been controlled by Su Yu's split soul, and had followed Su Yu back to the Supreme One faction. But the split soul had controlled her, and she did not move. It was only at this moment that she suddenly made a move. My guess was right, there's another show going on in this mine. The woman extended her hand and took the black feather gate from the dark shadow man's hand. Then she lowered her head and looked at the 9th Nether Succubus Empress, who was about to die. Chapter 2563. Do you want to live? The woman asked. The demonic queen of the 9 Nether demonic queen forced her eyes open. When she saw the woman, a trace of confusion appeared in her eyes as she muttered, "This face seems familiar." Su Yu narrowed his eyes slightly. The corpse race, from the many times he had interacted with them, did not have any memories of their previous lives. However, the charming empress of the 9th Nether vaguely remembered the corpse's face. It was clear how deep the dead woman's place was in the demoness empress' heart. However, Su Yu's divided soul was not too surprised. The infant was so attached to the female corpse, and he even had the profound tomes of arcane with him. Was it strange that he had a high status? Then, do you want to die? Su Yu's soul fragment asked again. Since she didn't answer, it meant that she didn't want to live. Of course I want to live, the 9th Nether Succubus Empress said. Su Yu's clone laughed. Release your soul and become my slave from now on. Then I can save you. The demonic empress gritted her teeth. She'd just left the ancient god domain of the 9th hell and escaped the shackles of eternal life, yet she was going to become the slave of another? Of course she didn't want to. He would rather die than do so. However, in the face of this familiar woman, the 9 Nether demonic empress could not muster any resistance in her heart. It was as if she was already used to it in her previous life. Yes, master. Even the way she addressed him was unusually adept. Su Yu's divided soul was slightly surprised. The identity of the dead woman was really unique. However, being able to use the dead woman to subdue the demonic empress of the 9 Nether had already exceeded Su Yu's expectations. The main body's instruction was to wait for an opportunity to obstruct Xiaohao. It turned out that before the Greater One sect was plunged into chaos, Su Yu had issued an order to the divided soul. He asked him to come to the mine. At that time, although Su Yu did not know what Xiaohao was doing, he knew that Xiaohao must have arranged a conspiracy in the mine. That was why he had his split soul wait here. As expected, Xiaohao had been plotting this for a long time. Like a mantis stalking a cicada, he seized the black feather gate that controlled the entrance to the ancient god domain of the 9 Nether. Su Yu's divided soul naturally took advantage of the situation and obtained the black feather gate. As such, both the black and white doors had fallen into Su Yu's hands. Not only that, but he had also successfully taken in the charming empress of the 9 Nether demonic empress. The split soul smiled and squatted down. Follow me to see the main body. He has the ability to save you. The 9 Nether Succubus Empress injuries were no longer as simple as they seemed. She had already lost the ability to heal herself, and her split soul could not control the female corpse to use a large amount of Underworld Lord's power to heal herself. Therefore, he could only rely on his main body. Speaking of Su Yu himself, he had been on the time ship for half a year. Along the way, he had thought of hundreds of plans to reach the ancient tomb. But every single one of them had a condition. the upper echelon of the evil cult. It would be great if I could subdue someone like the demon faction elder, Su Yu muttered to himself. With that kind of mission as a spy, all the plans had the possibility of being carried out. However, aside from Elder Howling Demon, who was the last among the evil cult elders, there was no one who did not know the level of a Tao Master. To subdue them was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. While he was deep in thought, Su Yu heard some murmurs. "Don't you feel like we're going around in circles?" The masked man suddenly asked everyone thoughtfully. Everyone looked at each other, but no one answered. Apparently, only the masked man felt this way. "It's probably an illusion," a passenger said. "The time corridor is always the same, so it's very normal for you to feel like you're going in circles." "No." The masked man stood up slowly and looked at the back of the time ship. He gradually became serious. "I mean, our corresponding position has always been the same as it was a month ago. The time corridor was isolated from the outside world. Unless one had special abilities, they would not be able to see through the outside world. But the masked man could. 3 months ago, I felt the scent of the demon faction nearby. Even now, that scent is still there, so I think we should stay in the same place," the masked man said in a low voice. "Demon faction?" The passengers immediately panicked. The reputation of the demon faction was not pleasant. Su Yu narrowed his eyes and secretly probed with the time domain. As a result, his face also became serious. "Please don't be alarmist. That's right, it's your first time riding the time ship. You must be too nervous." Everyone spoke one after another, causing the masked man to waver. Could it be that he was really worrying too much? "Your senses should be right. Our time ship has stopped in the time corridor." Su Yu's eyes flickered slightly. Hearing that, the masked man's eyes flashed. "I knew it, my senses were right." Only then did the people on the ship begin to panic. If the time ship stopped in the corridor, didn't it mean that they would be trapped here forever? Creak, creak. Suddenly, a slight sound came slowly from the corridor behind them. The sound was like something was nibbling away at the corridor little by little. Yu Xiangwan's eyes flashed with blue flames as she looked behind her. Her face suddenly became extremely ugly. "There is a worm, gnawing at the time corridor, causing the entire corridor to temporarily stop." Sure enough. Su Yu's eyes narrowed slightly. "It should be Xiaohao's doing. Go. We can't stay here for long." Su Yu was decisive and immediately slapped the time corridor. There was a cracking sound. A crack appeared on the wall. Everyone inhaled a breath of cold air. "The time corridor is broken?" That was something that the Time Master had condensed with the time domain. In theory, it could not be destroyed by anything. But now, the scene in front of them had subverted their imagination. Creak. The gnawing sound behind them was getting more and more intense. A chaotic power of time was approaching. The masked man's face changed wildly. "Damn Xiaohao. Does he want to kill all of us?" In the chaotic power of time, even the descendants of the Time Master might not be able to escape unscathed. That worm, as expected, was the time butterfly larva that the Time Master had personally cultivated. This worm could swallow the power of time, causing a period of blankness and causing time chaos. The consequence was that the creatures in the chaotic time were likely to be trapped in the time chaos forever, unable to escape. Forever like this, neither alive nor dead, until they were destroyed. Crack, on Su Yu's side, he was also trying to bombard the time corridor. This was because his time domain had reached the intermediate level. Otherwise, there was nothing he could do about the time corridor. The chaotic power of time was getting closer and closer, and the entire time ship was spinning in place. Once the power of time swallowed the entire ship and them, they would be finished forever. From Su Yu's perspective, he could see a dark light slowly approaching them. Pop! Fortunately, Su Yu smashed the time corridor in time and led Yu Xiangwan and Hall Master Miaoxiang to rush out. The masked man followed closely behind. The passengers hesitated slightly. Chapter 2564. The passenger hesitated and said, "The consequences of falling from the time tunnel are equally dangerous. If you are not careful, you will be taken to an extremely remote area." There was a rumor that someone accidentally fell out of the time tunnel. As a result, it took him 1,000 years to return to his hometown from the place where he fell. According to him, the place where he fell did not belong to the world of dreams at all. "Then wait for your death here," the passenger behind him urged and leaped out. Almost as soon as he leapt out, the chaotic power of time rushed toward him. The flying boat and the passengers who could not leave in time were all swallowed up. They disappeared in the blink of an eye as if they had never existed in this world. Back to Su Yu and the other two. After jumping out of the time tunnel, each of them was disturbed by the power of time. Su Yu was still able to stabilize himself and forcibly pull Yu Xiangwan and haul Master Miaoxiang. However, the two of them could not compete with it. The time difference between the time tunnel and the outside world was 10 times. Therefore, their figures were pulled away by the power of time little by little. In the end, Su Yu was empty-handed and could not pull anyone. Boom! Then, with a huge roar, Su Yu's feet landed and smashed into a sand pit. Looking up, there was a spinning vortex above his head. That should be the broken place of the time tunnel. He closed his eyes and immediately tried to sense, hoping to be able to contact Yu Xiangwan and haul Master Miaoxiang. In the end, he could not find them at all. He even tried to use the communication jade charm. The message could be sent out, but it could not be received for a long time. This could only mean one thing. They were already very far away from Su Yu, so far that the message that could have been transmitted instantly could not be transmitted for a long time. "I hope they are all right." The three of them were completely separated by the chaotic time difference. Bang! Right at that moment, another dull sound came from not far away from Su Yu. Looking sideways, it turned out to be the masked man. He was dizzy from the fall. The clothes on his body and the mask on his face were all torn apart in the crazy time difference, revealing his dark body and the black wings on his back. Demon faction member. Su Yu's pupils shrank slightly. A hint of coldness flashed in his eyes. He really did not have a good impression of the people of the demon faction. However, he wouldn't be able to live for long. Su Yu was able to avoid being blown away by the time difference and land safely right below the time tunnel because Su Yu had mastered the time domain and could adapt to the time difference of 10 times. However, this person didn't have a time domain, yet he still dared to forcibly resist the time difference. In the end, not only were his clothes torn, even his soul was in chaos due to the time difference. Even if Su Yu didn't do anything, he wouldn't be able to live for much longer. "Save me." Just when Su Yu was about to leave, the masked man said with great difficulty, "I am the descendant of the demon faction's elder Lang Mo. If you save me, I will surely reward you handsomely." Successor of an elder? Su Yu was astonished. No wonder this person was so generous with his money and was so afraid of Xiaohao checking his body. Such an identity was indeed too special. He rolled his eyes. He just so happened to need a high-ranking member of the demon sect to work for him. As the successor of Elder Wolfiend, his status was naturally not high enough. However, it might be a stepping stone for him to enter the demon sect. "I can save you, but what are you prepared to pay?" Su Yu asked calmly. "Let me make it clear first, I don't need the time crystals. I have more time crystals than you think." He had a pile of 9 Serenity's crystals in Coldfeather's space storage device. He really didn't need any time crystals. In order to survive, the masked man said weakly, "Everything." "Alright. As you wish." Su Yu's palm circled a small lotus formed by the condensation of the 8 domains, and he inserted it into his forehead. A lotus mark flickered on his forehead for a while before slowly dissipating. There was a soul domain in the lotus mark, slowly repairing his chaotic soul. The masked man's eyes slowly regained clarity. He sat up and cupped his fists at Su Yu. "Thank you for saving me first. Su Yu nodded indifferently. I have saved you as promised. Now it's time for you to fulfill your promise, Su Yu said, looking at him. The masked man took out a space ring and took out a bag of money from it. He threw it in front of Su Yu and said, 1,000,000 time crystals, keep the change. There was a hint of playfulness in his eyes. I should have said that I am not short of money. Su Yu stood with his hands clasped behind his back, looking troubled. And you said very clearly that the price to pay is everything. The masked man said leisurely, after all, you are still young. A person can say anything in order to survive, but you can't believe everything, understand? He waved his hand and said, the debt of saving my life is even. Farewell, I will take my leave first. Su Yu stood calmly in the same place and did not chase after him. He just said indifferently, do you really think that I saved you just to save you? The masked man laughed. I know you have placed some kind of seal in my body. But it is a pity that I am a member of the demonic faction, and my bloodline power is very powerful. Any foreign object in my body will be destroyed by the bloodline power. Is that so? Su Yu said indifferently. The masked man laughed, and a loud roar came from his body, as if thousands of thunderbolts were descending at the same time. But his laughter stopped abruptly. What is it? What did you put in my body? The masked man's face turned pale. He had discovered that there was a strange thing in his body that was not moving at all. No matter how he attacked it with his bloodline power, it did not move in the slightest. Su Yu did not speak. The masked man was shocked and angry, and his face was gloomy. Human, my identity is not something you can offend. Take that thing away now, and I will let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, suddenly, the masked man let out a shrill scream. His body strangely reverted to the state of a 3-year-old child, then instantly grew back to his current form. He was like a dough that was being kneaded and deformed. The pain was unimaginable. After this happened several times, it finally stopped. He lay on the ground, his forehead covered in sweat. His face was filled with fear and lingering pain. Otherwise what? Su Yu walked over and asked indifferently. The masked man yelled, Human, are you really looking for, Suddenly, he began to expand and contract, becoming bigger and smaller. Su Yu sat at the side and watched silently. After an hour, the transformation stopped. The masked man was still fearful, and he shouted, What did you do? But as soon as he asked, his body began to transform again. This happened repeatedly. An entire day passed, and the masked man felt like he was dying. Every hour, he would experience the same kind of pain. Only after experiencing it countless times did he realize that something was wrong. Chapter 2565. Master, please instruct me. The boorish man didn't even dare to have the slightest bit of disrespect. Su Yu sat down cross-legged and said, Your name? Devil Marquis. Master is Elder Wolf Demon? Yes. What are you doing in Bei Ming City? In the name of my master, I'm here to purchase 9 Serenities crystals, the Marquis answered honestly. It was no wonder that he carried a large number of time crystals with him. It turned out that he used them to purchase netherworld crystals. Purpose: give it to the Saint City and exchange it for the Nightmare Crossing Lotus Throne. Su Yu's eyes narrowed slightly. Bad luck crossing Lotus Seat? In his hand was a broken bad ridding Lotus Throne. This item was created by the great figures of the last great era. It could resist the destruction of the great era and avoid the disaster of the century. What kind of place is Sacred City? The location of the Time Sovereign. It was also the center of the Time Domain. All the sects and forces excavated the 9 nether crystals at all costs and handed them over to the Sacred City for the Nirvana Lotus Throne? In that case, why did the Time Sovereign ask for the 9 Serenities crystal? The Demon Marquis answered honestly, The form of the ruler of time is mysterious and unfathomable. How would we know? After a pause, the Demon Lord continued. However, the Demon Lord guessed that the Time Ruler might have handed over the Abyss Crystal to the 9-star civilization. Why would a 9-star civilization need ancient god Jiu-Yu's Jiu-Yu crystal? The 9th Hell crystal that was originally thought to be an ordinary or had now become a miraculous object that concealed a great deal of secrets. How unexpected! Let me ask you again. Where is the demon sect's ancient tomb? The Demon Lord raised his head and asked curiously, "Why are you asking me? Answer me." Su Yu's gaze turned cold. The Demon Lord immediately said, "I don't know. Only the previous demon masters, as well as those who are responsible for escorting the demon masters into the ancient tomb, know." It was similar to what Jin Yu had said. But there was something different. Who is responsible for escorting the Devil Lord into the ancient tomb? Jin Yu had never mentioned this. 3 in total. They are the Great Elder, my master, and Elder Shao Mo. They were the first, 9th, and 10th elders. Su Yu's heart thumped. If he could capture any one of them, he would have a chance to find the location of the demon sect's ancient tomb. He was deep in thought. Among the 3 elders, the first elder was negligible. Its strength had already reached an unimaginable level. It was unrealistic to try to get him. The most suitable candidate was Elder Shao Mo. Not only had this person tried to kill him many times, but he also had a grudge against him. His strength was also the weakest among the 10 devils. Great. Su Yu finally had a clear plan in mind. How is your relationship with the 10th elder? The Demon Marquis said. They look harmonious on the surface, but they are actually fighting openly and secretly, especially between my master and Elder Shao Mo. The latter is a disciple that the Demon Lord has personally nurtured and entrusted with heavy responsibilities. Therefore, he is very dissatisfied with Elder Lang Mo, who is ranked above him. This time, both Master and Elder Shao Mo have sent disciples to the outside world to search for the 9 hell crystals. This is one of the reasons why they are competing. The Demon Lord has promised that whoever finds the most 9 hell crystals will be qualified to obtain a drop of divine demon blood. At the mention of the Saint Demon blood, the Demon Lord could not hide the deep greed in his eyes. The holy demon was the ancestor of all demons. When it was born and how long it had existed was a mystery. He only knew that all the people of the demon sect were derived from the holy demons. A drop of holy devil blood, if used properly, could create another elder like Elder Shao Mo. So all the elders extremely cherished this opportunity, and all of them dispatched their capable subordinates to search for 9th hell crystals all over the place. How much did you find? Su Yu's eyes flickered. The Demon Marquis had a bit of pride on his face. I am not talented, but I have some connections, so I have collected about 500,000 kilograms of 9 nether crystals. The lowest grade is 7th grade, and the highest is 6th grade. In total, it was worth at least tens of millions. There were indeed a lot of them. It should be known that the Devil Sect had plundered Sky City and the other major cities the last time, and the amount of netherworld crystals they had plundered was only a mere 20 to 30 million. It was indeed not easy for the Demon Lord to find so many. Only 1 million, Jean? It's too little, Su Yu muttered. The Demon Lord was dumbfounded. Was 1 million Jean too little? He muttered to himself. Does Master know the meaning of the netherworld crystal or not? How about this? I'll give you some 9 netherworld's crystals to ensure that you'll be safe this time and secure the first place, Su Yu said. The reason why he helped the Demon Lord was because he wanted to establish some sort of relationship with the demon sect. Only then would it be convenient for him to act. Su Yu took out a bamboo hat and put it on his head. He said, "From now on, I am a merchant of netherworld crystals. Introduce me to your master." As he spoke, he took out another space storage device and said, "I'll give you some first. Hold it well." The Demon Lord took it and said worriedly, "Master, I'm afraid it won't work. The demon sect has always been secretive. How could they trade netherworld crystals with others so rashly?" He felt that Su Yu was too naive. How could he think that the demon sect would trade with outsiders for just a few netherworld crystals? Using this to establish an equal relationship with the demon sect was just wishful thinking. As he thought of this, he subconsciously glanced at the space storage device. After taking it and scanning it, the demon lord cried out in surprise, "Fifth grade netherworld crystals. All of them are fifth grade. There are 5 million kilograms of them." 1,000,000 kilograms of fifth-grade netherworld crystals was worth at least 300 million time crystals. Even with the demon sect's enormous size, they wouldn't have so many netherworld crystals even after years of accumulation. I still need the netherworld crystals for the time being, so I can only give you a little. However, it should be enough to satisfy your master, Su Yu said. Satisfied? How could that old fellow not be satisfied? The demon lord said incoherently. Among the 10 elders, Elder Lang Mo's connections were relatively low. He was not even as good as Elder Xiao Mo. He had never expected his own disciples to be able to find so many netherworld crystals. If all the disciples added up could gather netherworld crystals worth 50 million time crystals, he should be laughing with his hand over his mouth. Moreover, he had found as many as 300 million on his own? It would be strange if Elder Lang Mo was not surprised. Then, what else do you have to worry about? Su Yu asked again. The demon lord laughed. Master, with so many netherworld crystals, I'm afraid the demon sect won't dare to treat you lightly. They will definitely treat you as a distinguished guest and treat you well. But the demon lord looked at the space storage device with some embarrassment and said, Master, can I discuss this with you? Speak. Change the grade of the netherworld crystals to something lower. They are all 5th grade netherworld crystals. It's too scary. I'm afraid even the demon master will be alarmed. No way. Why? Because the lowest grade I have is a 5th grade netherworld crystal. Su Yu sighed helplessly. The demon lord was dumbfounded. He knew that there were many people in the world with amazing wealth. However, people like Su Yu, who could not even take out a piece of netherworld crystal below the 6th grade and only had 5th grade and above, had never been heard of, let alone seen. All right. The demon lord was resentful and deeply sighed at Su Yu's wealth. At the same time, the hidden grievance in his heart faintly dissipated. It seemed that he had unintentionally followed an extraordinary super big shot. Lead the way to the demon sect. The demon lord nodded. Okay, master, please. Suddenly, the demon lord turned his head and looked behind him, frowning slightly. That annoying guy is following us. Su Yu did not look back, but he could feel a fairly strong demonic energy rolling from the horizon behind him. Haha, isn't this the demon lord? What a coincidence! A red-robed man, stepping on a demonic cloud, laughed maliciously. Just now, when they were in the time tunnel, the demon lord felt the aura of the demon sect nearby. It must be this red-robed middle-aged man in front of him. The people of the demon sect were very sensitive to each other's aura. Thus, the other party also discovered that the demon lord was here. Not a coincidence at all. The Devil Marquis did not have a good attitude towards this person. The latter smiled as he sized up the demon lord. All of a sudden, he stared at Su Yu and squinted his eyes. Elder Lang Mo's disciples are really getting worse and worse. You even started befriending lowly humans. The demon Marquis snorted coldly. Imo-chin, you'd better watch your mouth. Otherwise, a loose tongue will cause trouble. Although he did not know Su Yu's true abilities, how could Su Yu's abilities be weak, given that he had casually thrown out millions of dollars? The magic zither would suffer if it angered its master. I do want to bring some trouble to you. But you'll need to have the capabilities to do so first. Imo-chin was Elder Xiao Mo's disciple. Relying on Elder Xiao Mo's golden reputation, he did not put Elder Lang Mo's disciple in his eyes at all. Let's go. The demon lord did not want to pay attention to this person, so he led the way for Su Yu. However, the magic zither was unwilling to give up. "Let's do it together." He did not ask if the demon lord would agree and just followed him. Along the way, he kept beating around the bush, asking the demon lord how many 9 serenities crystals he had found. The demon lord only smiled without saying a word. He did not respond at all. This made the magic zither rather displeased. The 3 of them continued on their way and gradually entered a faction called the Dharma Path faction. The faction was full of Taoist practitioners. The 2 demons, the demon lord and the magic zither, swaggered into the faction. The Taoist practitioners along the way dared not stop them. There was even a hint of respect. They went all the way to the forbidden place of the faction, the training place of the faction master. An elder in a Taoist robe had been waiting there for a long time. "I welcome the arrival of the 2 lords of the demonic faction," the elder in the Taoist robe said. Su Yu looked over and could not help but be surprised. Wasn't the elder in the Taoist robe before him the one who had fought with Su Yu for the spring water in Nanming City? He really was from the demonic faction. Behind the elder in the Taoist robe, an incredibly complicated transportation spell had been activated. Su Yu observed it for a moment and discovered that there was not only the power of space within the spell, but also a faint power of time. The 2 powers had to be used at the same time in order to reach the correct location. If someone who was unaware of the situation used the spell, regardless of whether the power of space or the power of time was present or not, the destination of the transportation would be different. The demonic faction was very cautious indeed. The 3 of them stepped onto the spell. Time and space changed. When Su Yu reappeared, he found himself standing in the sky above a massive underground city. The people of the demonic faction were everywhere in the city. They lived and multiplied here, just like any other race. Chapter 2566. He wouldn't be at ease until he found out where the demon lord had found his savings. Although he looked down on the demon lord, he was still quite fearful of his abilities. The search for the 9 serenities crystals was related to the fight for the saint demon blood of the masters. Who would dare to bring their disciples with them? The demon lord cast a questioning look at Su Yu. The 10 elders would go into seclusion regularly, so he couldn't see them now. What's the harm in taking a look at the demonic faction? Su Yu smiled calmly. The demonic Qin glanced sideways at Su Yu and warned him, "Human, the demonic faction is quite xenophobic. You'd better behave yourself." Hee, Su Yu smiled without saying a word. The 3 of them entered the city. The demonic Qin stopped in front of a very grand restaurant. Powerful demons could be seen drinking and chatting in the restaurant. The words "Demonic Cloud Cave" were hung above the restaurant. "What do you think of this place?" the demonic Qin asked mockingly. The demon lord looked hesitant and embarrassed. The Demonic Cloud Cave was the most famous money-squandering establishment in the demonic faction. Spending there once would cost at least 3 million time crystals. It wasn't something that disciples like them could afford easily. Most importantly, the Demonic Cloud Cave had stopped accepting time crystals recently and was only used to collect 9 serenities crystals. This made many people flinch. At that moment, Su Yu's voice sounded in the demon lord's ears. "Go ahead and spend as much as you want. I'm here, so you don't have to worry." The demon lord heaved a sigh of relief. With the rich man behind him, what couldn't he afford? "Great!" the demon lord laughed. "I'm afraid you can't afford it." Obviously, the 2 of them intended to split the cost equally. The demonic Qin was slightly taken aback. Since when did the poor demon lord have such confidence? The demon lord remembered the first time he came to the demonic cloud cave. He didn't know what was going on and didn't have enough time crystals. It was his master who came to pay for him with a livid face. For a moment, the demon lord became a laughingstock in the demonic faction. After so many years, the demon lord was traumatized by the sight of the demonic cloud cave. He thought the demon lord wouldn't agree. Unexpectedly, he was so confident that he even threatened to compete with him. The demonic Qin was stunned and couldn't help but laugh. A bluff. Not bad. Hee hee, let's see how long you can last. The demonic Qin laughed. The three of them entered. Without waiting for the zither to continue teasing him, the demon marquis sat down and shouted, "Come, give me 3 pots of the demon Cloud Cave's best sky demon wine." The originally clamorous Devil Cloud Cave immediately quieted down. Astonished gazes kept sizing up their table. The magic zither was stunned as well. He frowned and said, "Demon Lord, this isn't a place for jokes. Since you've ordered it, you must buy it. Are you sure you want it?" The demonic wine was the most expensive wine in the demonic Cloud Cave. 1 pot was worth 10 million time crystals. Over the course of a year, the magic Cloud Cave sold less than 10 pot. The demon lord wanted 3 pots in one go. It was too exaggerated. Moreover, the Devil Cloud Cave was founded by the Grand Elder. Who dared to make fun of the Devil Cloud Cave? Wasn't that courting death? With Su Yu backing him up, the demon lord naturally had nothing to fear. Hee hee, demonic zither, why are you regressing the more you mingle? Can't even afford a pot of wine? Looks like you haven't had a good time these past few years. The demon marquis taunted. How could the demonic Qin admit that he was inferior to the demon lord? He said seriously, "I'm doing this for your sake." The demon lord cut him off expressionlessly. "Hey, don't say that for my sake. I have plenty of money. As for you, if you don't have enough money, you'd better leave. Otherwise, if you don't have the money to pay later, I'm afraid you'll have to ask your teacher to come here." The demonic Qin had specially chosen this place. If he retreated now, he would become a bigger laughingstock. Hee hee, if someone like you can afford it, there's no reason I can't. The demonic Qin braced himself. He had saved a lot of money over the years. It should be enough for a pot of demonic wine. Before long, the person in charge of the demonic Cloud Cave personally served 3 pots of wine. He said with a smile, "A total of 30 million time crystals. In addition, our shop will only accept 9 Serenity's crystals recently." "That's all right." The demon lord laughed valiantly. "We have plenty of money." The demonic Qin squinted. He realized that he really couldn't understand the demon lord. A year ago, when they left the demonic faction to look for the 9 Serenity's crystals in the outside world, the demon lord was still a pauper. It had only been a year, but it seemed like the world had turned upside down. Su Yu sized up the so-called heavenly demon wine curiously. He was surprised to find that it contained a very rich energy. He tried to drink a mouthful, and the mysterious path energy in his body rose rapidly, showing signs of a breakthrough. This was good stuff. Hence, he finished the pot of heavenly demon wine in one gulp. He had just broken through to the middle stage of nirvana, and he was showing signs of a breakthrough. Another 10 pots. Su Yu's voice was not loud and it was very calm. However, this time, the demonic Cloud Cave fell silent. The demonic Qin was infuriated. He slammed the table and bellowed, "Human! You'd better behave yourself. This is not a place for you to mess around. 10 pots of heavenly demon wine? How dare he ask for it? If they couldn't pay up, the 3 of them would have to die here." The person in charge walked back and sized up the 3 of them with a suspicious look. Ordering 3 pots of heavenly demon wine was already the limit of an ordinary person. 10 pots was almost certain that the other party was looking for trouble. "Are you sure you want 10 pots?" Su Yu did not say a word. He threw out a black stone. The person in charge fixed his eyes on it and was stunned for a moment. Then, he said in shock, "3rd grade 9 Serenity's crystal?" 3rd grade crystal was a level rarely seen in the world. 10 pots, don't worry about money, Su Yu repeated. The person in charge immediately turned from worry to joy. He personally delivered 10 pots of heavenly demon wine. "Please enjoy, my dear guest." Su Yu grabbed 3 of the pots and poured them into his mouth on the spot. When he drank the 2nd pot, the mysterious Tao energy in his body reached its peak. He broke through the bottleneck and reached the late stage of nirvana. When he drank the third pot, the 800 Taoist marks in his body were all filled with the mysterious Tao energy. In terms of the mysterious Tao energy, Su Yu was no less powerful than the early stage of nirvana. It was a pity that the more he drank, the worse the effect of the heavenly demon wine. By the time he finished the third pot, there was no obvious effect of improvement. The demonic Qin smiled and looked at the remaining 7 pots of heavenly demon wine on the table. With a push of his palm, he pushed 3 of the pots towards the magic zither. Your 3 pots. The demonic Qin's scalp went numb. 1 pot cost 10 million. Adding the pot in his hand, it was already 40 million. His own net worth was not enough to pay for it. Demonic Qin, if you want to die, don't drag me down with you. The demonic Qin certainly couldn't keep him company. Otherwise, he would really bury himself in it. He slammed the table angrily and rose to his feet. I'll pay for the first pot of wine. How about you find a way to return the rest? The demonic Qin chuckled. Return? Why should I return it? If you don't have money, you don't have money. If you're poor, just say it. You may not have money, but I do. He slapped a spatial storage artifact and shouted, Bill. The person in charge walked over again and said with a smile, Dear guest, the 3 of you have spent a total of 110 million time crystals. The demonic Qin pushed the space storage device over. Deduct it from the inside. The person in charge picked it up and scanned the content. He was deeply moved. Dear guest, are you going to pay for everything, or are you going to pay for yourself? The demonic Qin said slowly, I'll pay for it all together. My friend here is too poor. I have no choice but to take care of him. Everyone looked at the demonic Qin, casting looks of envy and jealousy at him. That guy is really good at currying favor with people. Isn't he currying favor with a big shot now? Tisk tsk, but he really has the nerve to ask someone to pay for 3 pots of heavenly demon wine on his behalf. The demonic Qin's face turned green and red. The ridicule he once gave to the Devil Lord was returned in one night. The demonic Qin paid 110 million with a smile. He stood up and patted the demonic Qin's shoulder. He said with a smile, You'd better not come to places like the demonic cloud cave next time. Otherwise, no one will pay for you anymore. After he finished speaking, he swaggered off. Su Yu followed behind without batting an eyelid. The demonic Qin was too ashamed to follow the 2 of them anymore, so he left angrily. Of course, he didn't forget to take the 4 pots of heavenly demon wine on the table with him before he left. Master, my performance just now was too exaggerated. The demonic Qin was embarrassed when he came to a place where there was no one around. He had been following Su Yu's instructions in secret, acting in an extremely exaggerated and sarcastic manner. Now that he thought about it, the demonic Qin felt nauseous. Those words and actions were too childish. He was like a foppish young man. It's fine. What I want is to cause a commotion. Only then will the elders show up as soon as possible. Su Yu didn't have the patience to wait for the elders to go into seclusion. He wanted to act preemptively and startle the elders to come out. Let's go for a stroll. Having experienced a breakthrough in cultivation with the heavenly demon wine, Su Yu was a little more interested in the demonic faction. He wanted to see if he could buy something that suited him in the demonic faction. Not long after, in a secret medicine shop, the shop sold secret medicine that was unique to the demonic faction. After consuming it, Xian Daemaster's cultivation would be forcibly raised to a new level. However, the downside was that he would feel extremely weak afterward. How much is a bottle? 100,000 time crystals. You can also exchange it with 9 serenities crystals of equivalent value, the shopkeeper said. I'll buy it. Since he had decided to deal with Xiaohao, he naturally had to make every effort to improve his side's strength. The secret medicine of the demonic faction was a good choice. It was only available in the demonic faction. Couldn't be bought in the outside world. How many bottles would you like to buy? All of them. Sir, you must be joking. I have 100 bottles of secret medicine. Only 100? That's too little. Suyu said. I'll buy all of them for 100 bottles. In the next few days you can make more and I'll buy more. In a demonic talisman shop. This kind I'll buy all of them. And that kind bring them all to me. In a demonic clothing shop. Except for the ones you're wearing, I'll buy all the clothes in your shop. Soon, the entire demonic faction city was in an uproar. Almost everyone was talking about the same thing. An outsider had come to the demonic faction, and he had countless 9 serenities crystals. He was buying things everywhere, and the entire demonic faction was almost emptied. That was because the amount involved was simply too enormous. All the elders who were in seclusion received paper-like messages, informing them of what had happened in the city. Even the royal family of the demonic faction had people sending messages. In the palace, Xie Xiaoye was leaning on the table, calculating something thoughtfully. Suddenly hearing the news, she frowned. The human is buying things wantonly in the demonic faction? How wantonly? I heard that they've already spent more than 1 billion time crystals worth of 9 serenities crystals. Xie Xiaoye was shocked. How much? 1 billion? Yes, little demon master. Xie Xiaoye rolled her eyes. I'll go and have a look. A human wantonly spending 1 billion time crystals sounded incredible. Chapter 2567. However, just as Xie Xiaoye was about to move, a gray-robed figure floated out. It was a person who only had bones left. However, his entire body was emitting a suffocating aura. He was Elder Bone Demon, ranked first among the 10 elders of the demon sect. Miss, the Demon Lord has ordered that you can't go anywhere right now. Elder Bone Demon said in a low voice. Xie Xiaoye glared. Move! Elder Gu Mo sighed softly. Miss, no one can disobey the Demon Master's orders. If you insist on charging out, then I can only use force to seal you and wait for the Demon Master to deal with you. Right now, Xie Xiaoye was completely under house arrest. It turned out that the demon sect had long discovered that Emperor Xiaohao was about to launch a drastic change in the Greater One sect. At that time, it was very likely that the entire Greater One sect would be reduced to scorched earth. She was worried about Suyu, so she secretly led a group of demonic faction strong men to the Supreme One faction and waited for an opportunity to strike. Who would have thought that as soon as he moved, he would be detected by the Demon Lord and captured back. Enraged by Xie Xiaoye's audacity, the Demon Master ordered her to be placed under house arrest. Without his permission, no one was allowed to step out of the palace. Just now, Xie Xiaoye wanted to take the opportunity to go out, but unfortunately, she was stopped by Elder Bone Demon. A human of unknown origins is buying items from the evil cult with ill intentions. What intentions does he have? What hidden goals does he have? What schemes does he have? All of these are unknown. As the strongest elder in the evil cult, aren't you worried? I'm not worried. No matter how much Xie Xiaoye talked, Elder Bone Demon was very calm. Xie Xiaoye looked worried for the demon gate. Hey! The evil cult is facing a great calamity, and I can't do anything for the evil cult even if I wanted to. God, please open your eyes. Elder Guamo said indifferently, Little Demon Lord, take a break. Don't tire yourself out. Xie Xiaoye glared fiercely at Elder Guamo and gripped her teacup tightly. You old bastard, can you bear the consequences if that human causes a disaster? There's no need for me to bear the responsibility. The other elders have already rushed over upon hearing the news. Xie Xiaoye was so angry that she couldn't speak. She waved her hand in annoyance. All right, let's go. Seeing that she couldn't escape, Xie Xiaoye completely gave up. In Demon Gate City, Su Yu and the Demon Lord were strolling around the city. But behind him was an entire street of people. The ground and the sky were filled with people. It's already 2 billion, right? Is this human trying to buy up the entire Demon Gate City? Damn. You're still in the mood to watch the fun? Hurry up and buy your daily consumables before he does. 30% of the daily necessities on the market have been sold out, and the prices of the remaining ones have skyrocketed. If you don't buy them now, you'll be starving. Because of Su Yu's crazy purchases, the prices of goods in the entire Demon Gate city had skyrocketed. Many of the daily necessities of the demon sect could no longer be bought even if they wanted to. In front of a very large shop, the Devil Marquis eagerly led the way. This is the most famous devil insect shop in the devil sect. There are many powerful insects, and the 10 famous insects are the most famous they can. I'll buy them all, Su Yu said casually. The crowd immediately boiled over. Damn. They didn't even let the demonic insects go. What does he need so many demon insects for? Are you going to cook it when we get back? Damn, so what if you're rich? How can you buy things like this? I was wrong. It's really great to be rich. When he saw Su Yu take away all the top 10 demon insects and go to the next shop to buy more, the demon burst into tears. Su Yu came to the front of a demonic artifact hall and was about to go forward when a figure stopped him. Human, enough is enough. The silhouette revealed its true form. He was dressed in a black robe, and there was a wolf mark on his forehead. He was the 9th-ranked Elder Lang Mo. Master. The Devil Marquis walked up and greeted him respectfully. Elder Lang Mo stared at the Devil Marquis coldly. Why are you with this human? He had received news that a human had suddenly appeared and was buying goods in the Demon Gate, causing great chaos. Therefore, he came to investigate. The Devil Marquis lowered his voice and was about to say something when a few more demon elders rushed over. Among them was Elder Xiaomo, who was ranked last. Human, how dare you disturb the Demon Gate? How dare you, human, create chaos in the Demon Gate? The few demon elders' tempers were obviously not good, and they scolded him as soon as they arrived. Su Yu's face was calm as he turned around and said slowly, If buying things is creating chaos, then I have nothing to say. Humph. Elder Xiaomo stood up and looked at Su Yu, who was wearing a bamboo hat. Do you think you have a lot of money? He was being sarcastic. Unexpectedly, Su Yu said calmly, It's quite a lot. Elder Xiaomo was stunned and snorted. Shameless boasting. But Elder Xiaomo did not continue scolding him, because he really could not speak. Because Su Yu had taken out a 1,000-feet-tall hill and thrown it in front of the demonic artifact hall. He said, I want all the demonic artifacts inside. As for how much they are worth, you can dig them out from this hill yourself. That 1,000 zhang tall hill was completely black in color. There was only one kind of black ore among the 9 Serenities crystals, and that was the 3rd grade 9 Serenities crystal. Moreover, it was 1,000 feet tall, and its weight was no less than 5 million pounds. Its value was immeasurable. The Demon Gate's 100 years of storage was not even enough for this hill. Most importantly, it was a 3rd grade 9 Serenities crystal. Usually, the appearance of a fist-sized piece would alarm the entire southern region of the Dream-Broken Realm. But now it was as big as 1,000 feet tall mountain. Elder Xiaomo was so shocked that he could not speak. The other demon elders were shocked at the same time. How could there be such a huge 3rd grade 9 Serenities crystal? Human. Mr. Human, may I know your name? Elder Lang Mo stared at the giant 9 Serenities crystal mountain and swallowed hard. His previous fierce expression was gone, and he greeted Su Yu with a pleasant expression. You are. Su Yu pretended not to know, raising his brows as he asked. Elder Lang Mo smiled and cupped his fist. I am the 9th elder of the demon faction. May I know your name? My surname is Su. Mr. Su, I have heard a lot about you. Elder Lang Mo smiled. May I know if you are willing to exchange your 9 Serenities crystal for the time crystal? Hearing that, the other demon elders came to their senses. If they could get their hands on this 9 Serenities crystal mountain, the rest of them would not need to fight for the holy demon blood. No matter how many 9 serenities crystals their disciples went out to look for, it would be less than 1/10,000th of what was in front of them. Mr. Su, I am Elder Yen Mo, ranked 6. I would like to discuss a business deal with Mr. Su. What do you think? Haha, I am Elder Guang Mo, ranked 5th. I would also like to discuss a business deal with Mr. Su. 5 or 6 elders rushed over together. As Elder Lang Mo, who was ranked at the bottom, he was naturally pushed to the back. He did not even have a chance to interrupt. Chapter 2568. Those demon elders were all ranked above him and had great power. He could not compete with them openly. Moreover, with his wealth, he was far from being a match for the other demon elders. Sigh. He could only sigh silently. However, he was not too disappointed. From the beginning, he knew that he had no hope of obtaining the holy demon blood. After all, there were several elders above him. Just as they were laughing bitterly, Su Yu calmly said, "Everyone, I was invited by the demon lord to make a deal with his teacher, Elder Wolf Demon. Please allow me to make a deal with him first before anything else." Hearing this, several demon elders looked at Elder Lang Mo and the demon lord beside him in shock. Their eyes were filled with surprise. How did the demon lord know such a rich man who could rival the demon faction? Being stared at by so many elders, the demon lord's blood surged. He had never been so excited before. He was just a nobody, yet he had gained the attention of so many elders in the demon faction. This was something that had never happened in his life. Elder Lang Mo was overjoyed. He separated the elders and stepped forward, saying enthusiastically, "Mr. Su, please come into my abode." Hence, under the envious and worried gazes of the other demon elders, Su Yu followed Elder Lang Mo into his personal cave abode. In his abode, there were 3 disciples cleaning up the mess. They looked at their usually arrogant and indifferent master in astonishment. Now, he was accompanying a human into the abode. "Mr. Su, please." Elder Lang Mo invited Su Yu into the guest hall. The demon lord followed closely behind and was about to enter. A disciple stopped him and scolded him sternly, "Fourth junior brother, why are you so rude? Master is meeting a guest. Why are you following him in?" The demon lord subconsciously shrank his neck. The person in front of him was his eldest senior brother and the disciple that Elder Lang Mo valued the most. Usually, the 3 disciples, including the demon lord, were all in awe of him. Whenever the master was not around, the eldest senior brother would control them as their master. "Go and boil a pot of magic tea," the eldest senior brother ordered. He was very disappointed with the demon lord. He used to think that the demon lord was quite clever, but why was he so ignorant today? Master was such a respectful guest, and he dared to join in the fun? However, at this moment, Elder Lang Mo turned his head and instructed, "Emo-chin, go boil a pot of demonic tea." Me? Eldest senior brother was a little surprised. Usually, Elder Lang Mo would hand over these miscellaneous items to the other 3 disciples. He would never order him around. What made eldest senior brother even more surprised was that Elder Lang Mo turned to Demon Lord and smiled. "Demon Lord, what are you waiting for? Come in quickly." The Demon Marquis regained his senses, smiled and said to the Demon Marquis, "De Shixiang, please boil the tea well." With that, he entered the classroom with a smile. Emo-chin was left bewildered. What was going on? Master, who usually didn't like to smile, was actually so polite to the Demon Lord? In the guest hall, Su Yu sat calmly. Elder Wolf Demon made small talk, but there was an irrepressible urgency in his eyes. He was only afraid that the other devil elders would use some tricks and cause him to lose the 9th hell crystal that he was about to obtain. "Mr. Su," Su Yu waved his hand lightly. "I know what Elder Lang Mo is trying to say." As he spoke, he signaled the Lord Demon with his eyes. The latter took out a space storage device, which contained 1,000,000 9th hell crystals. "Master, when we first met, Mr. Su and I came to an agreement. Please have a look." Elder Wolf Demon took a look and was moved. Thank you so much, Mr. Su. Su said indifferently, it's a piece of cake. Elder Langmo felt much more at ease, but he was still worried. If Su made a deal with the other devil elders and gave them more ninth hell crystals, the advantage he had would be gone. Mr. Su, apart from buying the items you need, what else do you want from the demon faction? If there's anything I can help you with, this elder will be able to help a little. He wanted to get more ninth hell crystals from Su. Su chuckled and said, I'm afraid Elder Langmo might not be able to help me. Why don't you tell me first? If I can help, I won't refuse, Elder Langmo promised. He had to keep Su, the money tree, in his palm. Haha, I want to pay a visit to the Demon Master. Is that possible? Su's eyes flickered. Naturally, he could not mention the ancient tomb of the demon faction. That was the top secret of the demon faction. Who would dare to leak it? If Su mentioned it, Elder Langmo would immediately capture him and interrogate him, no matter how much he longed for the ninth hell crystals on Su. The demon master has been away for several years and has not returned. If you want to see him, I'm afraid no one can do it. Elder Langmo breathed a sigh of relief. No one could fulfill this request. It's fine if there is someone who can make the decision, Su said. Originally, his purpose was only to capture Elder Xiao Mo. However, after observing the resources of the demon clan, he found that many of them were extremely rare and useful to the outside world. Therefore, he wanted to make a big deal with the demon faction. With the demon faction's lack of ninth hell crystals, they should not refuse. This can be done, Elder Langmo said. Although the demon master is not here, there is the little demon master. In some aspects, the little demon master can also make decisions. After a pause, Elder Langmo hesitated. However, the little demon master's temper is a little strange. I'm afraid Mr. Su can't handle it. How strange could a successor of the demon faction be? Speaking of which, he had heard of this little demon master when he was in Nanming City. At that time, Empress Star Rain had put up a wanted poster for this person, but unfortunately, there had been no results. It doesn't matter. If you can arrange it, do it as soon as possible. If not, I will find someone else, Su said indifferently. Elder Langmo immediately said, Please rest assured that it will be arranged properly. Su nodded. If it is handled properly, I am very willing to make another deal with Elder Langmo. Hearing this, Elder Langmo was overjoyed. He immediately said, Mr. Su, please wait patiently for a moment. I will arrange it right away. He immediately stood up and instructed the Demon Lord, Take care of Mr. Su. After saying that, he immediately left. Only the two of them were left in the guest hall. Su smiled. Now, the other demon elders must be restless, right? They must be terrified that Elder Langmo had obtained the ninth hell crystals, which were far better than theirs, and had taken away the Earth Saint demon blood. Therefore, they would definitely take action later. Either they would snatch the ninth hell crystals from Su, or they would find a way to get in touch with Su. This was the demon faction, and they were in Elder Langmo's abode. They would have to consider their relationship with each other and would not use force. Therefore, it would be the latter, and Elder Xiao Mo would most likely be among them. At that time, Elder Langmo came to the palace as an elder and met Xiexiu. Chapter 2569. However, since he had come, there was no harm in meeting him. Under the arrangement of Elder Langmo, Su entered the palace hall. Mr. Su, if the little demon master says anything unpleasant, please forgive him, Elder Langmo reminded him in advance. Su was puzzled. After all, he was a little demon master. Even if he was eccentric, there should be a limit, right? Did he have to remind him like this? It was as if the little demon master was so lawless. At that moment, a servant outside the door shouted, The little demon master has arrived. Elder Langmo immediately stepped forward to welcome him respectfully. Su also did the proper etiquette and stepped forward to pay his respects. Under his gaze, A woman with heavy makeup that was neither fish nor fowl slowly walked in under the respectful welcome of the maids. She wore a big red flower on her head, and her cheeks were especially red. Because the makeup was so thick, there was no beauty at all. Instead, she looked like a paper doll that had been burned for the dead. Suyu only took one look at her, and it stung his eyes. This woman was human from head to toe, so she must be from the royal family of the demon faction. However, he really did not dare to compliment her makeup. Suyu was not a person who judged people by their appearance, so he turned a blind eye to her and saluted her. "Greetings, little demon master." The little demon master's voice was gloomy. "Human, I heard that you are very rich?" Suyu raised his eyebrows slightly. Why did it sound like this little demon master was up to no good? That tone, it didn't seem right. "Just so," Suyu said calmly. "I am here to make a deal with you, little demon master. I believe it will also be beneficial to the demon faction." The little demon master sat down slowly with the help of the servant girls, and said calmly, "Tell me about it." Suyu did not say a word, but laid out a list. On it were the special demon faction products that he had taken a fancy to when he was shopping. It was very useful for arming his own strength. However, the stock on the market was very small. Only by seeking cooperation with the demon faction's royal family could it be possible to buy them in large quantities. The little demon master glanced at it, and his eyelids could not help but twitch. The items listed on the list were worth at least 10 billion time crystals of the 9 underworld. This was an unimaginably huge number for the demon faction. The highest value of the 9 nether crystals that the demon faction had ever stored was only 5 billion time crystals. 10 billion, that was an unimaginably astronomical figure. Especially as the end of the era approached, all the powers were scrambling to find 9th hell crystals to exchange for the Grievous Crossing Lotus Throne. Because of this, the netherworld crystals would become increasingly difficult to find. The 10 billion in front of him was definitely a great opportunity that came knocking on his door. If the Devil Sect was here, they would definitely buy so many 9th hell crystals at all costs. The little Devil Lord rolled his eyes and appeared very calm. "Sure." Suyu heaved a sigh of relief. This little demon master didn't seem to be as strange as Elder Lang Mo had warned him about, apart from his unflattering makeup. "How long will it take to prepare the list?" Suyu asked. The little demon master calculated and said, "It won't be later than 10 days, and it won't be earlier than 3 days. In the meantime, you can play around in the Demon Gate at will, including the palace." He had given Suyu extremely generous terms. Between 3 to 10 days? Suyu was quite satisfied, as it was within his estimation. "All right, I will collect the goods within 10 days. Suyu immediately stood up and took his leave. The negotiation went more smoothly than expected. The little demon master, who Suyu had thought would be very difficult to deal with, didn't even have the slightest intention of bargaining. After Suyu and Elder Wolf Demon left, the little demon master revealed a strange smile. He then plucked the eye-catching red flower on his head and said helplessly, "I'm really going all out. Even with this kind of makeup, I'm still willing to come out and meet people." She wiped off the thick layer of makeup on her face, revealing her beautiful and flawless face. "But—" She placed her index finger on the corner of her mouth and looked at Suyu's back as he left. "Then," she said leisurely, "you may have to suffer a little, human." Suyu returned to Elder Lang Mo's cave residence. Suyu dismissed the people around him and began to ponder. That little demon master must have other plans, right? Suyu thought about it and felt that the other party's attitude didn't seem to be about business. That was why the transaction had gone so smoothly. If that was the case, he had to make plans early. Sitting cross-legged, Suyu checked the things he had on him. In addition to the small Kylan, he still had the heaven-destroying seal and the feathers on the white feather gate to protect himself. The heaven-destroying seal and the small Kylan would be used last. Using force in the demonic faction was an extremely unwise thing to do. It should only be used as a last resort. The white feather, on the other hand, contained a strong defensive power and was the best choice for self-defense. Knock, knock. Once everything was ready, he prepared to go into seclusion for a few days and wait for the transaction. However, there was a knock on the door. "Mr. Su, it's me." That voice seemed to belong to Elder Lang Mo's eldest disciple, Emo-chan. "What's the matter?" Su asked calmly. He had nothing to say to this person. "Mr. Su, can you let me in to talk?" His voice was very low, and he seemed very cautious. Su was surprised. There seemed to be something wrong with this person. Rolling his eyes, Su waved his hand to open the seal and let him in. After Emo-chan entered, he closed the door and said respectfully, "Mr. Su, thank you for meeting me. If you have something to say, just say it," Su said calmly. Emo-chan carefully took out 2 sealed letters. "Mr. Su, please have a look." Su rolled up his sleeves and opened them. They were the handwritten letters of the elders who ranked 5th and 6th. It turned out that, just as Su had expected, they had tried everything to get in touch with him. However, due to Elder Lang Mo's strict security, they had been unable to succeed. It was only when Elder Lang Mo accompanied Su to the palace that they found an opportunity. They had paid a hefty price to bribe Emo-chan. They had asked him to pass the letter on their behalf. After reading it, Su's eyes were calm. He accepted the letter and said, "Tell them that I will consider it." These 2 people were not his target. What he wanted was Elder Xiao Mo. However, Elder Xiao Mo was extremely vigilant and had not made a move yet. However, Su believed that he would make a move sooner or later. After all, no one would not be tempted by such a huge 9 Serenities crystal. Coincidentally, Elder Xiao Mo was an insatiably greedy person. Su believed that he was just observing. After receiving the reply, Emo-chan quietly went to a remote area in the city. There were Elder Guang Mo and Elder Yen Mo's disciples. "Emo-chan, what did Mr. Su say?" they asked expectantly. Emo-chan shook his head regretfully. "Mr. Su only said that he would consider it." The 2 disciples were extremely disappointed. In the letter, their master had proposed generous terms for Su. They had not expected Su to be dissatisfied. "What is that Mr. Su thinking?" Elder Guang Mo's disciple sighed bitterly. Emo-chan laughed self-mockingly. "You ask me, but who am I supposed to ask? That kind of high and mighty figure, every word and action is carefully thought out. How can I guess?" The 2 disciples thought about it and felt helpless. Then, how did Mr. Su deal with the letter? Suddenly, another disciple walked out from the shadows. Chapter 2570. The demon glanced at him, snorted, and didn't reply. Everyone knew about the grudge between Elder Xiao Mo and his master. What right did he have to answer the demonic zither for no reason? "Big Brother Emo-chan, this is just a small token of appreciation. Please accept it." Emo-chan immediately took out a small bag of 9 abyss crystals. The latter opened it and took a look. Only then did a warm expression appear on his face. He said, "I didn't do much with it. I just kept it in my bosom." After listening, the magic zither fell into deep thought. He took out a small bag of netherworld crystals and handed the letter to Emo-chan. "Then I'll have to trouble Big Brother Emo-chan to deliver my letter as well." Emo-chan snorted unhappily. "Wouldn't it have been better if you had sent it to me just now? Do you know how much risk you'll be taking if you make another trip?" "Hee, Big Brother Emo-chan, let's take a look at the contents of this money pouch first." When Emo-chan opened it, his expression changed drastically. Inside the pouch, there were 2,000,000 time crystals. He put away the money bag and said, "All right, then I'll make another trip." Watching him leave, the demonic Qin sighed helplessly. "This is Master's will. There's nothing I can do about it." As it turned out, Elder Xiao Mo had instructed the magic zither to remain calm and observe Mr. Su's reaction after the other elders' letters were delivered. If he returned the letter or threw it away, Then his handwritten letter would not need to be sent out. If he accepted it and didn't explicitly reject it, then he would send it over. That was why the scene before them happened. Soon after, a letter appeared in Su Yu's hand. It was written in Elder Xiao Mo's own handwriting, and he was willing to purchase the 9 nether crystal from Su Yu with the time crystal at a price that was 30% higher than the market price. He would buy as much as they sold. You sure talk big. Su Yu said in front of Emo Chin, however, to make a deal with the royal family. I don't have many 9 serenities crystals left. If Elder Xiao Emo is willing, we can make another deal after I have obtained enough 9 serenities crystals. Emo Chin immediately returned and conveyed Su Yu's original message. The demonic Qin heaved a long sigh of relief. Master is the best after all. You actually succeeded. A few days later, Su Yu, who was in seclusion, stood up abruptly and struck the space in front of him with his palm. The terrifying power of the profound way, which was close to the early stage of Nirvana circle, caused a deep crack to appear in space. I've finally stabilized my cultivation, Su Yu said in satisfaction. It was time to prepare to break through to the Nirvana stage. Just like breaking through from light nirvana to intermediate nirvana, normal cultivation required a long period of accumulation. He had to use a special item to break through the barrier between realms. Mr. Su, the royal family is here. Elder Wolf Demon reminded from outside. Su Yu was surprised. It was only the 4th day, right? That little demon lord was very efficient. Let's go. Su Yu stood up, while a cold glint flickered in his eyes. That little demon lord had better not have other plans. Otherwise, he might not care whether he was a great demon lord or a little demon lord. He arrived at the imperial palace once again. He appeared in a spacious hall. Inside, the floor was already neatly covered with space storage devices. There was an item on the list in each of the spatial storage devices. The little devil lord was already sitting calmly in the main hall. When he saw Su Yu coming over, he said calmly, "Human, everything is ready. Take out your money." Su Yu's eyes flickered. "I want to check the goods first." "Whatever," the little devil lord said indifferently. Su Yu grabbed a space storage device and checked it. His face darkened. "What do you mean by this?" This space storage device contained a kind of secret medicine that could temporarily enhance one's cultivation. He needed a total of 10,000 bottles on the list, but among them only 100 bottles were real. The rest were empty. "It means what you see," the little devil lord said rudely. "You have checked the goods, so give me the money." How was this a transaction? It was clearly robbery. Su Yu surveyed his surroundings. Although he did not have a clear perception, there must be an absolute strong person nearby who was staring at him. If he made any bad moves, he would immediately attack and kill Su Yu. Therefore, Su Yu calmed down and said slowly, "Little devil lord, if you do not mean to trade, then forget it." There was no reason for him to buy something that was seriously short of weight with such a high price. He had expected that the little devil lord would use forceful means to force him to pay up. Unexpectedly, the little devil lord said indifferently, "If you don't want to buy it, then don't buy it. Are you afraid that my demon faction's things can't be sold?" What was going on? Crash. Suddenly, a figure full of bones appeared. He was not a bystander. It was the great Elder Guemo. He grabbed a few space storage devices and scanned them. He said with a slight reproach, "Little devil lord, there are enough goods in the demon faction's warehouse. Why don't you take them out?" The demon faction had reserves all year round, and the things that Su Yu needed could be completely satisfied. However, the little devil lord had agreed to the transaction, but deliberately made a situation where the goods were short of weight. She was not going to force him to buy or sell. What was she trying to do? "Father is not here, so I am in charge. I will sell as much as I say," the little devil lord said. The great Elder Guemo was a little angry. Such a large business was crucial to the future of the demon faction. If it was successful, he might be able to raise enough money for the evil crossing Lotus Sea. If the Demon Lord was here, he would certainly make this transaction happen at all costs. After a pause, the great Elder Guillermo lowered his voice and said, "If the little Devil Lord is distressed about the goods, then—" He gave him a fierce look. He meant to rob. Anyway, robbery was a common thing in the demon faction. The little Devil Lord slammed the table and shouted, "Presumptuous! Our demon faction is a place of honor. How can you rob openly?" The words could be heard by the whole hall. The great Elder Guillermo was embarrassed. What was the little Devil Lord doing? She finally looked at the human race and said, "Human race, I have changed my mind. I don't want to trade with you anymore. Now, please leave the demon faction." The little Devil Lord's idea was very simple. She wanted to destroy the great plan of the demon faction. She wanted to see if her father would dare to keep her in the demon faction. That was why the scene in front of them was happening. Suyu frowned slightly. He could see that the little Devil Lord was doing this on purpose. What a waste of time and feelings! He had waited for 4 days in vain. In the end, the other party did not have the intention to trade at all. This willful little Devil Lord. However, in front of the great Elder Guillermo, Suyu naturally could not do anything out of line. "If that is the case, then I will leave," Suyu said calmly. Unexpectedly, the little Devil Lord said, "Wait! What is it?" The little Devil Lord said indifferently, "Spit out all the things you bought in the demon faction. Of course, I will also return all the 9 Serenities crystals you spent." What? The great Elder Guillermo was furious. Suyu had spent 2,000,000,009 Serenities crystals, and now he was returning them all? Chapter 2571. If she didn't want to continue the transaction, Suyu could somewhat understand it. After all, she probably had her own reasons for doing so. However, Suyu wanted him to return the item that he had bought. It was simply humiliating. After this incident, who would dare to trade with the demon sect in the future? Suyu even wondered if he had unintentionally offended the little demon master. Otherwise, why would the little demon master be so aggressive? "Little Demon Lord, I advise you to think twice before you act." This was obviously not beneficial to the demon sect's actions. If the Demon Lord found out about it, he would definitely punish him. The little Devil Lord's eyes hardened, and the big red flower on his head trembled. She narrowed her eyes and said slowly, "Human, I should be the one advising you. Follow my orders immediately and don't provoke me." Suyu looked at her deeply. He did not have a good impression of the entire demon faction. It was fine if the dignified little Devil Lord went back on his words, but he was still so domineering and unreasonable. "All right. I'll return it to you." Suyu's eyes shone brightly, and he threw a space storage artifact back. Elder Guillermo sighed and caught it. After checking it and confirming that there were no problems, he passed it to the little demon master. Although he was very angry at the little Devil Lord's unreasonable actions, he did not forget his duty to protect the little Devil Lord. The little demon master played with the spatial storage device and raised his chin. "Give it to him." Left with no other choice, Elder Bone Demon could only head to the Imperial Treasury and take the few Netherworld crystals within it. When the Demon Lord returns, he will definitely be furious. Little Demon Lord is really too willful this time, even worse than running away from home back then. Bone Devil Elder said with a sigh. Suyu took his space storage artifact and immediately took his leave. He did not hesitate in the slightest. The entire demon gate was in an uproar because of this. Nonsense. What nonsense? Little Devil Lord is treating the future of the demon sect as a joke. The one with the most intense reaction was Elder Xiao Mo. His cooperation with Suyu had just begun to take shape, yet the little demon master had acted so recklessly and driven him away. Elder Wolfian's face was ashen. Ridiculous. The 9 Serenities crystal is related to the demonic sect's exchange for the Nirvana Lotus throne. It determines the life and death of the demonic sect. How can she mess around like this? Not only did he not want to cooperate, he even wanted to return all the money Mr. Su had spent on the Demon Gate. It would be strange if the Demon Lord was not furious when he returned. The demonic elders were like this, and the common people were also like this. The imperial family was demanding back all the 9th hell crystals that they'd obtained from the merchants that had benefited from it, and for a time, the imperial family was filled with complaints. What little devil lord is she? Instead of doing proper business, you're fooling around all day. Why don't we just leave her outside? There's no need to call her back. As the saying goes, cutting off one's path to wealth is like killing one's parent. The little devil lord's actions had not only cut off their source of wealth, but he had also snatched back the wealth that was already in their hands. How could he not be hated? However, no matter how angry the people were, no one could do anything to the little devil lord. Elder Bone Demon sighed incessantly. Only the little devil lord had a complacent look on his face. She wanted to turn the devil gate upside down and see if the devil lord would still dare to keep her in the devil gate. Poor Mr. Su, he came here in vain, the little devil lord said with a smile. All of a sudden, the spatial storage device in his hand shattered with a cracking sound. An extremely well-hidden time domain surged out without any warning. Both of them, including the little demon master and elder bone devil, fell into a state of time freeze at the same time. Su Yu, who had left, had strangely returned. He stared at the little devil lord and said coldly, "It's not your fault that you are ugly, but it's wrong for you to come out and do evil." As he spoke, he stepped forward and kicked her to the ground. At the same time, he took away everything on her body, including the spatial storage device that he had taken back, as well as the little devil lord's own spatial storage device. After doing this, he immediately used the time domain to escape. This was because the elder bone devil had reacted and used his powerful cultivation to forcibly break through the blockade of the time domain. Little devil lord, be careful. Bone devil only had time to support the little devil lord, but he was unable to stop Su Yu from escaping. When the time domain ended, the little devil lord also woke up. There was an obvious pain in her chest, causing her to rub her chest subconsciously. Only then did she realize that the spatial storage devices on her body were all gone. Is it that human? Although time was frozen, the little devil lord's thoughts were still there. For a short time, she did faintly feel that someone had done something to her. She was shocked and angry. No wonder the other party had returned the spatial storage device so easily. It turned out that an unknown trick had been done inside, and even the great elder bone devil did not notice it. Chase after him. The little devil lord scolded, and there was real anger in her expression. She was not angry that she had been schemed against, nor was she angry that the secret medicine of the demon faction, which was worth 2,000,000,009 serenities crystals, had been stolen. She was angry that he had stolen a spatial storage device that contained something extremely important to her. The elder bone devil was also angry. In front of him, he had hurt the little devil lord. This human was too bold. There is no need to chase after him. So far, no one has been able to escape from the demon faction. The elder bone devil snorted. Little devil lord, you stay in the palace, don't leave even half a step. I will be back soon. With the strength of the great elder bone devil, it was only a matter of time before he caught up with Su Yu. Once he caught up, Su Yu would die without a burial place. After saying that, the elder bone devil flashed away. With the strength of the royal family, there was no need to worry about the safety of the little devil lord. The little devil lord sat in the yard angrily. Human, you have angered me. However, just as the words left his mouth, an icy cold voice rang out in his ears. The same words, I will return to you. Su Yu, who had clearly escaped, had not left at all. How could he not know that it was impossible for him to escape from the demon faction by himself? Therefore, he had adopted the strategy of luring the tiger away from the mountain, lurking and subduing the little devil lord. The little devil lord reacted quickly. When she heard that something was wrong, she immediately crushed a defensive talisman and asked for help. However, Su Yu was prepared, and a space domain froze her from head to toe. Then, in front of the little devil lord's surprised eyes, he carried her on his shoulder. Human, do you know what you are doing? She never dreamed that this human would have the courage to kidnap her. Didn't he know that she was a descendant of the demon faction? Kidnapping her was tantamount to becoming the enemy of the entire demon clan. I know, I will exchange you for a reward. Hadn't the Empress Star Rain been searching for the little devil lord? He hadn't seen the Empress for several years, and now he had kidnapped the little devil lord as a greeting gift. You are finished, no one can save you. The little devil lord wanted to cry. Things should not have turned out like this. She had imagined that she had angered the human clan and delayed the demon faction's important matters. The demon master would have driven her away in anger. Being kidnapped was not part of the plan at all. At this moment, the little devil lord wanted to cry but had no tears. Su Yu kidnapped the little devil lord, rushed out of the demon gate city, and arrived in front of the formation. How could his abnormal behavior be hidden from the powerful demon elders? In particular, the number 1 elder Guemo, who was the first to arrive. He was shocked and angry. Human, let go of the little devil lord. If you hurt him, you will. Su Yu calmly pinched the little demon master. The little devil lord gasped in pain and said fiercely, You almost pinched a piece of my flesh. Su Yu looked at the elder Guemo and shrugged. See, there will be no consequences. The elder Guemo did not dare to come forward. If Su Yu did something out of line, the little devil lord would be in danger. So, let's be straightforward. Let me go, and I can guarantee the little devil lord's safety for the time being. Otherwise, she will die now, Su Yu said. At this moment, the little devil lord wanted to die. What the hell was going on? Chapter 2572. Elder Gu Mo's expression changed again and again, thinking that he had been careless. The human in front of him was simply too cunning. If he was the slightest bit careless, he would fall into his trap and be captured by the little demon lord. If something happened to the little devil lord, the devil lord would find it hard to forgive him. Thus, after weighing the pros and cons in his heart, Elder Bone Demon waved his hand and activated the time and space formation. It will bring you back to where you came from. Remember not to hurt the little demon lord, otherwise you will definitely regret it. There was only one little devil lord in the devil sect, and he was also the only successor of the devil sect. If the little demon master met with misfortune, even if Su Yu was the descendant of the time master, the demon faction would seek revenge at all costs. Su Yu smiled faintly. Thank you. He had never thought of hurting the little devil master. He just wanted to bring him back. With a leap, he stepped into the formation with the little demon master. After experiencing the transformations of time and space, he successfully returned to the Taoist sect. Before the people inside could react, they immediately grabbed the little devil master and fled. When Elder Guemo and many other elders came out, the little demon master and Su Yu were nowhere to be seen. Immediately send an order to all the demon sects to search for the little demon lord. Elder Guang Mo hesitated and asked cautiously, Grand Elder, is this really fine? The devil lord seems to be coming back soon. With such a big commotion, he will definitely know that something has happened to the little devil lord. Elder Gu Mo's face sank. I will take responsibility for this matter alone, but we must search as soon as possible. The young demon master's safety is above all else. With one order, the countless branches of the demon sect received the same order. Find the little devil lord. The order did not mention the little devil master's current situation, so it was misunderstood, and the little devil master fled again. It was a pity that the tearful little devil master was being kidnapped and taken south. When they arrived at a deserted ancient city, Su Yu stopped to rest and replenish his energy. Hey! Death human race, don't go too far, I'm not trying to harm you. The little devil lord's body was covered with sealing runes, lying on the ground like a block of wood. Only the mouth could move. Su Yu's expression was calm as he said, "Initially, I didn't want to do anything to you, but you kept forcing me. So, I had no choice but to teach you a lesson." As he spoke, Su Yu searched through the little demon master's space storage device. As the little demon lord, her spatial storage device should not be lacking in demon sect specialties. True enough. After a brief exploration, Su Yu was extremely satisfied. The richness of the specialties inside was comparable to the various items that Su Yu had bought with 2,000,000,009 Underworld's crystals previously. Not bad, you didn't take the risk for nothing. Su Yu was quite satisfied with the little demon master, who was a fat sheep. Suddenly, Su Yu raised his eyebrows. He was a little confused. With a thought, a small wooden barrel appeared in his palm. Inside the wooden barrel, there was only a thin layer of colorful liquid. Su Yu could not be more familiar with this object. It was the evil spring that he gave to Yu Xiangwan and Xie. The evil spring could raise the level of a domain, which was very useful to the two of them. How could the little devil lord also have an evil spring? Moreover, there was an identical little wooden barrel? Su Yu was not worried about Yu Xiangwan's evil spring, as he had seen her consume it with his own eyes. How did Xie Xiaoye's item end up in your hands? Su Yu's eyes became gloomy as he stared at the little demon master. The little demon lord was startled, his eyes turning as he thought to himself, "Does this person really know my real name? Could it be that he has seen me before?" Her name was only known to a few demon elders. Many people in the demonic faction did not know her real name and only called her the little demon master. Yet, Su Yu knew her real name so easily. This surprised the little demon master. However, to be cautious, she did not admit it. "Humph! What's Xie Xiaoye? I don't know her." Su Yu's eyes became colder and colder. Xie Xiaoye was from an 8-star civilization, so her background should be very weak, right? He was very worried that the news that Xie Xiaoye had obtained the evil spring would be leaked, which would lead to a fatal disaster. Perhaps this matter was not done by the little demon master, but it was possible that it was not done by her subordinates in order to claim credit. As he thought of this, his heart tightened. He continued to search the little demon master's storage space, his eyes becoming gloomy little by little. This was because he kept discovering more things about Xie Xiaoye, even the clothes that she usually wore and so on. "Speak! Where is Xie Xiaoye?" Su Yu grabbed her by the neck and shouted coldly. Even her daily necessities were obtained by the little demon master. It was obvious that Xie Xiaoye was very likely to have been harmed. The little demon master was trembling with anger. When had she ever been so cowardly? "Human, don't force me!" The little demon master clenched her teeth. She was obviously angry. Su Yu's eyes were full of cold light. "Speak!" He involuntarily used more strength, and his palm gradually tightened. The little demon master snorted coldly, and a rich demonic energy suddenly gushed out of her body. She was originally in the form of a human, but a pair of golden wings suddenly appeared on her back. Ordinary devils, even the elders of the devil race, only had black wings. Only the little demon master had golden wings. The clothes on her body were also torn apart, revealing a perfect golden body. The runes that were suppressing her body began to tremble and shake off one by one. Those runes could no longer suppress her. "You want to resist?" Su Yu pointed his finger, and the time domain bloomed and touched her body. However, the frozen time domain was forcibly bounced off by the reverse flow of the demon royal blood. "Open!" The little demon master growled. She waved her wings, and a golden storm suddenly appeared, forcing Su Yu to retreat. The runes on her body were also completely swept away. This time, the little demon master was completely free. Her figure turned into a residual shadow, and she blasted towards Su Yu. A majestic and terrible power was faintly approaching the early stage of nirvana. Su Yu snorted lightly, and in the palm of his hand, the power of the mysterious path gathered, and it was not inferior to the early stage of nirvana. Bang! The moment the two collided, the world trembled fiercely. The mountains in the distance all collapsed. The densely packed forest all fell to the ground. The golden figure of the little demon master retreated, and her face was solemn. It is not easy for a human to cultivate to this level. Put down my things, and I will spare your life. She actually intended to let Su Yu go. Those things do not belong to you. Su Yu's eyes were cold, and he took a deep breath. 2 hourglasses of time appeared above his head. Those things belong to my friends. As his voice fell, the time domain was suddenly launched. The little demon master tried her best to resist, but under the medium-level time domain, it was difficult for her to be completely immune. Her movements were obviously much slower. Her golden eyes widened little by little, and her eyes were flashing with surprise. The human in front of her seemed to be saying that Xie Xiaoye was his friend? Wait a minute, the little demon master said. However, in the time domain, she spoke very slowly. Before she could reveal her identity, Su Yu slapped her chest. Clang. Chapter 2573. Those were the words of the heavenly book. The golden runes surrounded the little demon master like a protective treasure. Su Yu's palm strike was forcefully blocked by the symbol, and he could not do anything to it. This was the palm of someone at the early stage of nirvana, so its power was unimaginable. At the same time, the appearance of the runes had a strong resistance against the time domain. The little demon master finally got rid of the time domain and asked hurriedly, "Who are you? Why do you know Xie Xiaoye?" Su Yu was slightly stunned, then said coldly, "You really know Xie Xiaoye? Tell me, how is she now? Is she alive or dead?" He was most concerned about Xie Xiaoye's life and death. The little demon master thought for a moment, then plucked the big red flower from her head. At the same time, she wiped off all the makeup on her face. A familiar face of peerless beauty was revealed. Su Yu was stunned. His mind went blank for a moment. Xie Xiaoye. He didn't quite believe it. The little demon master's true appearance was Xie Xiaoye? Xie Xiaoye stared at Su Yu suspiciously and said solemnly, "Human, can I ask why I am your friend?" She looked at Su Yu and pondered seriously. Proficient in the time domain, human, her eyes widened. "What's your surname?" Su Yu was stunned for a while, then slowly took off his bamboo hat and revealed his true appearance. Su Yu. Xie Xiaoye was shocked, wondering if she was dreaming. "You are not dead? Did you escape?" She thought Su Yu had been buried in the conspiracy of great Emperor Xiaohao. The most surreal thing was that Su Yu had actually swaggered into the demon faction and successfully kidnapped her. This was incredible. Su Yu smiled and looked at Xie Xiaoye deeply. "It seems you know a lot, just like your identity is well hidden." Xie Xiaoye suddenly realized that her identity had been exposed and was a little nervous. "Although I am the little demon master, I can swear that what the demon gate did was not my intention." The reputation of the demon gate in the southern part of the dream-broken realm was not good. Su Yu looked at the anxious Xie Xiaoye and smiled. "I know. She was just a little demon master who had been in the outer realm for a long time. The evil deeds of the demon gate could not be blamed on her. It's just that your identity is a little scary." It was hard to say how great the influence of the demon sect was, but thinking about it carefully, he shouldn't be any weaker than a descendant of the time sovereign. As the little demon lord, Xie Xiaoye's status was indeed too high. To think that she still remembered Su Yu, her old friend from the outside world. "No matter how high I am, won't I still be captured by you?" Xie Xiaoye smiled shyly. This was the second time he had been captured by Su Yu. It was as if it was destined. Cough, cough. Su Yu felt that something was amiss in his words, so he coughed dryly and said, "Since you are the little demon master, I should let you go." He couldn't possibly hand Xie Xiaoye over to his adopted sister, right? No, I was wrong. Thinking back to what she had done, Xie Xiaoye wanted to slap herself. How troublesome. Suyu was the one with the highest number. Since you're the one who wants the specialty of the evil cult, why can't we talk about it? You can have as many as you want. Xie Xiaoye's crystalline eyes flashed as she said with a smile. Suyu smiled bitterly. He had tried so hard to get to know the higher-ups of the evil cult and search for information about the ancient tomb of the evil cult. In the end, he had known such a person for a long time. He just didn't know about it at all. Xiaoye, I want to ask you something, Suyu said solemnly. Xie Xiaoye nodded vigorously. Ask away, I will tell you everything I know. I want to know, where is the ancient tomb of the evil cult? Suyu asked bluntly. He stared at Xie Xiaoye expectantly. Unfortunately, Xie Xiaoye shook her head. I just returned to the evil cult not long ago. There are many secrets of the evil cult that haven't been given to me yet, but I can ask my father. He should tell me. Suyu felt a little regretful. No. He stopped her. Since the demon master didn't tell you, he must have his reasons. If you ask rashly, it will only backfire. The most serious thing was that the demon master might even suspect Xie Xiaoye, which would eventually implicate her. I have my own plan. Suyu looked at Xie Xiaoye, a little embarrassed. His plan to capture Elder Xiao Mo was obviously not good for the evil cult. He really couldn't say this in front of the little demon master. You want to capture an insider, don't you? Xie Xiaoye was smart after all. Not only was she not angry, but she was also very supportive of his suggestion. It's best to capture Elder Xiao Mo. Oh? Why? Suyu asked. Xie Xiaoye said contemptuously. Elder Xiao Mo is the least capable but the most ambitious. Although I have no evidence, I can faintly feel that he may not be absolutely loyal to the evil cult. Suyu nodded slightly. This person was indeed too greedy and jealous of people with abilities. This kind of person would not stay in the last place forever. If there were great benefits from the outside, it was really hard to say whether he would finally join the evil cult. If you can help us get rid of this hidden danger, I will be grateful to you, Xie Xiaoye said with a smile. Suyu let out a breath and paused. But he is a disciple of the demon master, right? Is it really okay to capture him? He is just a registered disciple, what is there to worry about? Father is also annoyed by him. Xie Xiaoye didn't care. It turned out that when Xiao Mo was not an elder, he had made a great contribution to the evil cult. Therefore, the demon master made an exception and accepted him as a registered disciple. Do you need my help? The little demon master blinked his eyes, looking eager to try. Suyu shook his head. No, I have already set up a trap. When he falls into it, you don't have to do anything to avoid being suspected. Looking in the direction of the evil cult, Suyu cupped his hands and sighed. If I had known that you were the little demon master, I would have shown up to catch up with you. Now I can only say goodbye. Xie Xiaoye also said leisurely, Isn't that right? You should go quickly. If Gu Mo and the others catch up, they may not listen to my explanation. Moreover, her relationship with Suyu might not be able to be explained clearly. Goodbye. Xie Xiaoye nodded. Looking at Suyu's back as he turned around, she had an urge to follow him. However, she understood that her identity was too sensitive, and following Suyu would only harm him. Forget it, as long as you are safe. So what if I am trapped in the evil cult? She only wanted to escape from the evil cult and save Suyu. Now that Suyu was safe, there was no need. Just as she was feeling frustrated, a faint ridicule came from the end of the world. That voice was full of unparalleled power. Suyu, who was about to walk away, seemed to be petrified. He couldn't move. Xie Xiaoye was even more shocked. She immediately stepped forward and protected Suyu behind her. She hurriedly said, Father, it's all a misunderstanding. Swish. A blood-red remnant shadow suddenly appeared in front of Xiexia. It was the figure of a magnificent human. He was dressed in black armor and had a blood-red cloak on his back. His blood-red hair fluttered in the wind and his eyes were blue. The most special thing was that there was the word demon written in blood between his eyebrows. From head to toe, he exuded an evil and domineering aura that could destroy all living beings. He was the dark existence that shook the broken dream realm. Demon Master. Chapter 2574. Misunderstanding. The Demon Master looked at Xiexia in front of Su Yu with a playful expression. What did I misunderstand? Xiexia was stunned. It seemed that her father did not know that she had been kidnapped. Ahem, nothing. Xiexia tried to cover up. The Demon Master stood with his hands clasped behind his back, and his eyes naturally looked at Su Yu from head to toe. Human, there is a faintly discernible time domain around you. If I am not mistaken, you are the human Su Yu that my daughter has been yearning for day and night, right? Yearns for day and night? Su Yu looked at Xiexia, who blushed and said, Father, what nonsense are you talking about? When did I yearn for day and night? Oh. The Demon Master laughed. You are not afraid of anything, but you are afraid that I will expose you in front of Su Yu? It seems that you are really in love. Xiaoya's face became redder and she whispered, Father, really don't talk nonsense anymore. Su Yu and I are very innocent. However, as soon as her voice fell, the Demon Master, who was smiling just now, suddenly became cold. Unfortunately, we demons are not allowed to have feelings. The Demon Master looked at Su Yu with disdain. His gaze was intense as he stared at Su Yu. Su Yu felt a sting in his eyes and had to release the time domain to resist his gaze. However, his gaze was extremely penetrating. After a moment, it pierced through the domain and reached Su Yu's body. The sting began to spread from his eyes to his whole body. If this continued, it was likely that his body would be hurt. Space domain. A universe appeared around his body. The gaze was immediately divided into thousands of rays, radiating in all directions. Oh? Space domain? The Demon Master was slightly surprised. A person masters two domains at the same time? It is really rare. His voice was like thousands of thunder, blasting at Su Yu. The time domain and the space domain collapsed on the spot. His body was almost destroyed. Before he died, he immediately used the life domain to restore his body in an instant. Interesting, the life domain. The Demon Master took a step forward, and the life domain collapsed in an instant. The step was like stepping on Su Yu's soul, causing his soul to be in extreme pain. It was a sign that his soul was about to be destroyed. Soul domain. Su Yu had to use the soul domain again to protect his soul. Another supreme realm. The Demon Lord let out a long laugh. The laughter pierced through heaven and earth, possessing the power to destroy heaven and earth. Left with no other choice, Su Yu immediately used the death domain to corrode the sound wave. Death domain. The Demon Lord pointed in the air and destroyed the death domain. The remaining energy was headed straight for Su Yu. Su Yu snorted coldly, and an enormous gate of reincarnation appeared behind him. That wisp of energy experienced reincarnation and was dispersed into the most primitive form of energy. The Demon Lord's smile deepened as he stretched out two fingers. Su Yu used the creation domain and the destiny domain to defuse and evade the attack. Finally, the Demon Master punched Su Yu with his right fist. With a rumbling sound, the shadow of the fist headed straight for Su Yu. 8 great domains. A lotus flower appeared beneath Su Yu's feet. Under his control, the petals of the lotus gradually withered, corresponding to the weakening of that power. When it finally arrived in front of Su Yu, only a faint wisp of it remained, and Su Yu extinguished it with a single pinch. The Demon Master smiled. His figure flickered and appeared in front of Su Yu. He pointed a finger between Su Yu's eyebrows. A wisp of black demonic energy surged into Su Yu's body. Xiexia exclaimed, Father! She flew over and was about to attack the demon master. However, Suyu reached out and stopped her. Don't act rashly. Your father has no ill intentions. With the true strength of the demon master, would it be difficult to kill him? Of course not. He was just testing Suyu's true identity. Originally, the demon master guessed that Suyu might be a descendant of the Time Master or the Space Master. However, after many tests, he found out that Suyu turned out to be the descendant of the ancient god Jiulong. Incredible, the ancient god Jiulong still has a descendant in the world. The demon master was incomparably shocked. Most of his descendants were killed, and a few lucky survivors escaped to the celestial court. But there is still a descendant like you living outside. The demon master looked at Suyu. The most incredible thing is that without anyone's help, you actually comprehended the 8 great domains by yourself. It's simply nature-defying. Suyu did not know who the demon master was. However, he seemed to have some understanding of the ancient god Jiulong. Father! Xie Xiaoye stood in front of Suyu again and stared at him. What do you want to do to him? The demon master smiled and retracted his finger. He shook his head and couldn't help but laugh. A grown girl can't be kept at home. You haven't even gotten married yet, and you're already siding with an outsider. I really raised you for nothing. Xie Xiaoye was so angry that her face turned red. If you talk nonsense again, I will disappear again. Ha ha! The demon master was very pleased. Since Xie Xiaoye grew up, the relationship between them had been very stiff. The reason was that the demon master was largely responsible for her mother's death. For many years, Xie Xiaoye could not get over it. That was why she ran away from home for many years. However, even after she came back, there was never any conversation between them, let alone laughter. After so many years, this was the first time that Xie Xiaoye had shown such an embarrassed image in front of him. Let's go, human, go back to the demon clan with me. The demon master said happily, we are all abandoned by the holy mountain and regarded as enemies. You should join the demon clan from now on. I may not be able to give you anything else, but I can still guarantee your safety for a lifetime. Hearing this, Xie Xiaoye looked at Suyu hesitantly, as if hoping that Suyu would consider it. The 8-star civilization was not like the small outer region. This place was too dangerous. It was easy to encounter the descendants of the rulers. As the descendant of the ancient god Jiulong, if Suyu encountered them, he would really die. The world was big, and only the demon clan could protect him. Suyu smiled and cupped his fists. Thank you for your kindness, demon master, but my ambition is to go further, and I can't stay here. The demon master looked at Suyu deeply. From Suyu's eyes, he saw indomitable determination. Such a person, as long as he did not die, would become a great person. Well, I won't force you, but if you are in trouble in the future, you can come to the demon clan. The demon master thought about it and looked at Xie Xiaoye again. However, if there is such a day, I hope you can promise me that you will marry Xiaoye. The demon master looked at the sky and sighed. The end of the era is imminent, and it is unknown whether we can survive this disaster. Therefore, the 60 years in front of them was the only life they had left. He did not want his daughter to have eternal regret. Suyu said, I hope this day will not come. If his crisis was so great that he needed the demon master's help, it would be difficult for him to survive. Moreover, he had to marry Xie Xiaoye. It was even more impossible. The relationship between him and Xie Xiaoye should be more of a friend than a man and a woman. Perhaps there was some love between a man and a woman, but after all, it was only a little. Chapter 2575. Xie Xiaoye took a deep look at Suyu and nodded. Suyu, we will meet again. Since Suyu was safe and sound, the outside world and the demonic faction made no difference to her. There was no need to persist in escaping from the demonic faction. Suyu nodded. Goodbye. Watching the demon master and his daughter leave, Suyu touched his forehead. Just now, the demon master pointed there, seemingly unintentionally, but it left a pitch-black plum blossom mark. At first glance, it looked like a dancing black flame, somewhat evil. "Another favor," Suyu murmured. The plum blossom mark was nothing else but a pure demonic energy of the demon master himself. Once Suyu's life was in danger, the plum blossom mark would protect him. Speechless, the demon master gave himself a life-saving gift. Sighing, Suyu did not leave, but stayed where he was. A few days later, a sneaky figure walked over and bowed respectfully from 1,000 feet away. "Greetings, Mr. Su." He held a letter in his hand. "Mr. Su is fine. My master is very pleased and specially presents a humble gift." Suyu took it and opened it. 2 items slipped out of the letter. One was a letter, and the other was a black card. It turned out that Elder Xiao Mo gave Suyu a transmission portal certificate that was commonly used by the demonic faction. With this item, he could go to any stronghold of the demonic faction and use the interconnected formations there. With the wide range of the demonic faction's strongholds, he could reach any place in the world in a short time. For Suyu, who was about to return to Nanming City, this card was indeed a great help. Of course, Elder Xiao Mo gave this gift with a request. He hoped that Suyu could exchange the 9 Serenities crystals with him. The number was 20,000,000,009 Serenities crystals. Suyu raised his eyes and asked the magic zither, "Does your master have so many time crystals?" Even if Elder Xiao Mo was a registered disciple of the demon master, it was impossible for one person to have so much wealth, right? Unless Elder Xiao Mo had a more powerful backer behind him. Master said that Mr. Su has your own secrets, and so does he. "Mr. Su, please don't get to the bottom of it," the magic zither responded respectfully and humbly. Suyu looked indifferent and said, 20 billion is too much. I need time to prepare. We will meet here in 2 years to trade. He gave the magic zither an address. 2 years later, they came to trade. The magic Qin was overjoyed. He had finally completed the mission his master had given him. "I'll definitely bring it." After watching him leave, Suyu stood up. The reason why he remained where he was because he was waiting for Elder Xiao Mo's men to arrive. As expected. Now, he only had to wait for the deal in 2 years. Suyu turned around and walked toward Nanming City. With the proof of the demon sect, his journey was much smoother. Time was greatly reduced. The journey that should have taken 5 years only took half a year to reach the nearest city to Nanming City, Tianqi Palace. To think that after so many years, I would come to the Heavenly Awakening Palace again, Suyu muttered softly. The experience of coming here to participate in the Heavenly Awakening banquet was still vivid in his mind. During this period, they were also attacked by the demon sect. He never thought that he would be related to the master of the demon sect. Fate really made fools of people. However, he wanted to rush to southern Ming City as soon as possible, so he went straight to the teleportation hall. Perhaps it was because the supreme sect had been annihilated, causing the nearby living beings to be terrified and uneasy, causing all the living beings in the area to be anxious to leave this area. As a result, the Tianqi Palace was overcrowded. Even though Suyu had bought the proof to use the teleportation, he had to queue for 3 days and 3 nights before it was finally his turn to use the teleportation. But just as Suyu was about to step onto the teleportation, a young man in a gray robe came out from the ground, rushing forward first. Suyu creased his brows. "Go back and queue." Everyone else patiently queued up, but this person cut the queue. The young man in the gray robe did not turn around, calmly saying, "I have an urgent matter." What a joke! Who in the queue did not have urgent matters? Why was everyone patiently queuing up, but this person cut the queue? Cutting the queue was fine, but he did not say a word, rudely occupying the teleportation without even greeting anyone. If he really had an urgent matter, Suyu might have let him go first if they had a good chat. But it was as if it was only natural for him to cut the queue. "Come down," Suyu calmly said. The young man in the gray robe did not care. activating the teleportation, preparing to teleport away. Suyu grunted, stepping forward to grab his shoulder and pull him down. The young man in the gray robe was prepared, but Suyu's shocking strength made him unable to resist. He was forcefully pulled back by Suyu's palm, almost falling to the ground. The young man in the gray robe was furious, turning around to scold Suyu. "I said I have an urgent matter. Are you sick?" Slap! Suyu punched him in the face without giving it a second thought. The young man in the gray robe had a decent cultivation level, at the early stage of nirvana. Seeing Suyu's punch coming at him, he leaned to the side, preparing to retaliate. However, to everyone's surprise, Suyu's body's speed suddenly doubled. It was as if the time around him had sped up. The young man in the gray robe did not manage to dodge the seemingly simple attack, and was hit in the face. He spat out a mouthful of blood, flying sideways into the wall of the great hall. "Cutting the queue and still acting so righteously, you are a rare sight." Suyu retracted his fist, standing on the teleportation, coldly saying, "If you are not convinced, come again. I will beat you until you are convinced." The young man in the gray robe crawled up, his face covered in dirt. His face was filled with deep annoyance, and he took out a stone from his chest. "Open your dog eyes and see what this is." The stone was entirely red, with 2 words carved on it. Xiaohao. The token of Great Emperor Xiaohao's follower. He is Great Emperor Xiaohao's man. Walala, in an instant, the crowd retreated like a tide, fearing this person as if he were a ferocious tiger. Great Emperor Xiaohao's reputation was evident. Only Suyu stood calmly with his arms crossed, activating the teleportation as if there was no one else around. "Are you blind? Get down here." Seeing Suyu's indifference, the young man in the gray robe scolded. He really wondered if there was something wrong with Suyu. Seeing the identity token given by Great Emperor Xiaohao, Suyu did not react at all. Only then did Suyu look at him, calmly saying, "Like master, like dog. I am not surprised that you are Xiaohao's man. Only Xiaohao's men would be so arrogant. How dare you insult Xiaohao?" The young man in the gray robe's eyes turned cold. Suyu calmly said, "So what if I do? Are you going to come up and hit me?" The young man in the gray robe's eyes flashed with a hint of fear. Suyu's abilities were obviously higher than his. Going up to him would just be asking for trouble. "I will remember you. You will not live long for insulting Xiaohao." The young man in the gray robe snorted. Suyu shrugged. "Whatever. Remember me." After saying this, he disappeared from the teleportation world. When he reappeared, he was in Nanming City. He immediately went to the Empress's Great Hall. "Where is the Empress?" Suyu entered the Great Hall, but he could not see Empress Star Rain, nor could he sense her presence. Chapter 2576. Shua, an elderly Earth Path Master, appeared, and respectfully said, replying to Lord Su, "The Empress is currently in a secret chamber, receiving the emissary of the ruler." So it was in a secret room. No wonder his aura was isolated. However, Suyu raised his brows. Emissary of the Lord? Why would he visit the Empress's residence? Could it be what the Devil Lord had said, that the descendants of the chief sovereign of time had begun to fight for the world? Did the Time Dominus specially send an emissary to convey his will to his descendants? He waited patiently for a moment, and Empress Star Rain's aura appeared. The latter also sensed Suyu's presence and immediately rushed over. From afar, he saw an exquisite and beautiful girl with long golden hair running over happily and throwing herself into his arms. "Brother, you're finally back. I thought you'd never come back." Suyu stroked her smooth golden hair and said gently, "Since I promised you, I will surely come back. Come, let me give you a gift." Suyu pulled the Empress Star Rain along with him and headed toward an empty side palace. Queen Star Rain was looking forward to it. She asked curiously, "Big brother, what are you going to give me?" Suyu smiled, then took out a pitch-black stone. Upon seeing this item, The Star Rain Empress screamed in astonishment. Third grade 9 Serenity's crystal? Oh my god, this is the first time I've seen it. Suyu smiled but did not speak. He still had many more in his hands, and this was just one of them. I like it very much. Thank you, big brother. Queen Star Rain accepted it, but there was a hint of melancholy on her face. Suyu had wanted to tell him that he still had a lot. However, the abnormality interrupted Suyu's thoughts. What is the emissary of the chief sovereign of time doing here? Only the emissary could cause Empress Star Rain to frown. Empress Star Rain leaned weakly against the wall, a hollow smile on her delicate face. There's a problem with my abyssal crystal mine. Father sent someone down to supervise me, Star Rain Empress said bitterly. Be specific. The Star Rain Empress said unhurriedly. We, the descendants of the Time Sovereign, will regularly transport 9 Serenity's crystals to the sacred region. However, the last batch I transported was robbed by an unknown force midway. My father was furious and accused me of not being diligent. He also sent an envoy to the entire city to monitor all my actions and urged me to seize the time to mine. The 9 nether crystal ore was robbed? And at this critical juncture, was there a need to ask who did it? Xiaohao was the biggest suspect. What if I can't gather enough crystals of 9 underworlds? Suyu asked. Empress Star Rain smiled bitterly. Then strip me of my empress status and demote me back to a commoner. Her identity as empress was the only capital she had to compete with the other rulers of time. If even this identity was taken away, what right did she have to compete? She could only sit at home and wait for the new ruler of time to be born and her tragic fate of being absorbed. Don't worry, I'll think of a way. Suyu had a large number of 9 nether crystals in his hands, and the amount was enough to satisfy the Time Master's request this time. Queen Star Rain forced a smile. Thank you. In fact, she had never counted on Suyu. Suyu was born among the common people and had no foundation. Where could he find such a huge amount of 9 underworld's crystals? He was probably just comforting her, right? The Star Rain Empress forced herself to be spirited and said, Don't worry, I already have the means to get enough 9 underworld's crystals, and it's enough to deal with this crisis. After all, she was the Empress of a generation. After so many years of operation, it was impossible for there to be no precautionary measures. As long as he had a certain amount of time, he would be able to gather enough 9th hell crystals once more. Suyu thought about it and said, All right, if there are any difficulties, let me know. Since the Star Rain Empress did not need the 9 underworld's crystals for the time being, he would save his share for last, just in case. Brother, you rest, I'll go prepare the 9 underworld's crystals. The Star Rain Empress was a little tired. She had been preparing for several months. Every day, like a prisoner, she had to first report the progress to the emissary of the Time Master. Your body is the most important. Suyu watched her leave, then turned his eyes to where the descendant of the Time Master was. In the depths of the 9 heavens, a pair of eyes looked down from top to bottom, quietly overlooking the earth. In a secret chamber, a middle-aged man in official robes with a dignified expression walked out. He looked around furtively and came to a corner of the Empress Hall. With a light pat of his palm on the wall in the corner, the formation of the Empress Hall was easily opened, and a sneaky gray-robed youth was allowed in. The gray-robed youth was none other than the youth Suyu had met at the transportation portal of the Tianqi Palace to cut in line. Why did you come back so late? The middle-aged man in official robes asked in a low voice. The latter said unhappily, I met a fearless fool who wasted my time. How did it go? The middle-aged man asked. The gray-robed youth chuckled. Don't you trust me? How many 9 underworld's crystals does that silly princess have? I gave her not many, so she will never be able to gather all of them. Okay, go set it up. Don't let anyone know. Okay. They had no idea that the eyes above the heavens were watching their entire interaction. Suyu slowly closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, His eyes shone with a cold light. Something was wrong. The emissary of the Time Master had really been bribed by Xiaohao. With Su Yu's understanding of Xiaohao's behavior, this person was also very good at setting up trap. Since he had the ability to rob the Star Rain Empress of the 9 underworld's crystals, he would certainly not give the Star Rain Empress any chance to turn the tables. Therefore, Su Yu knew that the emissary of the Time Master had ill intentions. Now it seemed that it was indeed so. Xingyu, oh Xingyu, just watch a good show, Su Yu murmured. Suddenly, he had a thought. He left the Empress's mansion and went to the outskirt. A female corpse wearing a bamboo hat walked out from the dense shadows of a giant ancient tree. I didn't let you down, and I successfully completed the task. The female corpse extended her hand. There was a space storage device in her palm. Su Yu took it and scanned it. He immediately discovered the black feather gate that the demonic empress of the 9 underworlds had. However, the demonic empress of the 9 underworlds was actually inside. What happened? The split soul told him everything in detail. Hearing this, Su Yu was surprised. He had unintentionally subdued the demonic empress of the 9 underworlds. Su Yu had witnessed her power with his own eyes. At her peak, she was even stronger than the 10 great underground masters in the mansion of the Star Rain Empress. Well done, Su Yu praised. At the same time, he once again split a bit of his soul into the female corpse's body to replenish the soul that was about to dissipate. Hide in Nanming City. I'll need you soon, Su Yu said. Yes. The female corpse immediately accepted the order and left. Su Yu returned to the Empress's hall with the space storage device in his hand. Chapter 2577. Since the demonic empress of the 9 nether demonic empress had already been subdued, the seal she had placed on her was easily removed and replaced with Su Yu's blood essence. As such, both the black and white doors were now under Su Yu's control. Then, Su Yu looked at the charming empress of the 9 nether and said, "Your injuries are quite severe." With a flick of his finger, an emerald green leaf fused into the 9 nether demonic empress heart. The leaf continuously provided peerlessly powerful life energy, helping the 9 nether demonic empress recover her dying body. His injuries healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Soon, the charming empress of the 9 nether demonic empress was able to stand up. She stood respectfully in front of Su Yu, not daring to move recklessly. "What do you want to say?" The 9th nether demonic empress said, "From today onwards, I pledge my life to follow Master." Su Yu replied calmly, "Pledging to follow me till death is useless. When I no longer need you, I will set you free." Looking at the spatial storage artifact in the 9 nether succubus empress's hand, he secretly guessed that the 9 nether crystals inside should be quite a bit more than the one in Coldfeather. As if she had sensed Su Yu's gaze, the demonic empress of the 9 nether demonic empress did not dare hesitate. She removed the spatial storage device and stuffed it into Su Yu's hand. "This is Master's." Su Yu took it and scanned its content. He was slightly surprised. "Oh? A fragment of ancient god 9 Nether's claw?" He took out a fragment that emitted powerful netherworld energy. It was an item that belonged to ancient god 9 Nether. The 9th nether demonic empress sighed silently. For this item, the Phoenix King had fought with her for 1,000 years. In the end, it ended up benefiting a human. However, just as she was thinking about this, Su Yu threw the fragment back to her and said, "It's better for you to use it. You will be able to bring out its full potential." "What?" The demonic empress of the 9 nether demonic empress accepted it in disbelief. "Master, you don't want it?" This was a fragment of ancient god Netherworld's claw. Once he obtained it, he would definitely be able to erupt with astonishing power. Su Yu had actually returned. Did he not understand the preciousness of this item? The treasure needs to be given to the right person to use, and you are more suitable than me, Su Yu said calmly. If the fragment was given to Su Yu, he would only be able to unleash 1% of its power. However, the charming queen of the 9 nether demonic empress, was able to unleash at least 30% of her power. "Aren't you afraid I'll betray you? If that happens, you will lose both your money and your life," the demonic empress of the 9th nether said as she looked at Suyu. Suyu replied calmly, "Don't doubt the person you use, and don't use the person you doubt. Just take it and use it." With the restriction that he had personally set up, he did not fear the betrayal of the demonic empress. The latter nodded. "However, I will take all of your 9 serenities crystals," Suyu said. The number of 9 serenities crystals inside was already an astronomical figure. Most of them were plucked from the abyss. Not only were they of higher quality, but there were also more of them. "Master, feel free to take them. Those things are just ores that we collected out of boredom. We don't even know what they are for," the charming queen of the 9th nether demonic empress said nonchalantly. Suyu nodded. "Come to my storage space and take care of your body. If I need you, I will let you out to help me." "Yes, master," the 9th nether demonic empress replied respectfully before entering the spatial storage device. He had obtained the Black Feather Gate, a huge amount of netherworld crystals, and the demonic empress. Suyu's confidence was boosted. "Xiaohao, it seems like our duel will come soon." In the next few days, under the control of the Empress Star Rain, all the shops, banks, and influences in Nanming City that she controlled gathered the netherworld crystals that they had accumulated. A month later, the total amount of netherworld crystals had reached 50 billion. The Empress Star Rain, who had been frowning for the past few days, heaved a sigh of relief. She said, "Brother, what do you think? Isn't my technique of splitting the whole into parts very powerful?" It turned out that the Empress Star Rain had anticipated this day a long time ago. Therefore, she did not hand over all of the netherworld crystals that she had obtained. Instead, she kept the surplus and distributed it. She would only gather them when she needed them. Now, this precaution had finally come in handy. "Let's go and let the emissary have a look," the Empress Star Rain said confidently. Before long, they came before the emissary. The Empress Star Rain held the spatial storage device in her hand and said, "Emissary, please make an inventory." The emissary immediately inspected it carefully. After a while, he confirmed, "Yes, not bad. The netherworld crystals are worth 50 billion. Without waiting for the Empress Star Rain to heave a sigh of relief, the emissary continued, "However, the Empress, please take good care of them. If you lose them again, I'm afraid the Creator will really dismiss you from your position." The Empress Star Rain said solemnly, "I understand. Thank you for the reminder, emissary." The emissary sighed. "Since you have gathered enough netherworld crystals, my mission is complete. I shall take my leave now." He was unusually carefree, and did not drag his feet in the slightest. The Empress Star Rain pretended to urge him to stay a few times, but he insisted on leaving. Only then did the Empress Star Rain let him go. After he left, the Empress Star Rain was like a little bird freed from its cage, cheering and jumping for joy. "Ha ha ha, he's finally gone." These days, she had been monitored and reported to every day, which had worried her to death. Now she was finally free. Suyu smiled and did not expose the emissary's ill intentions. Now that he had left so carefreely, there must be a greater conspiracy waiting for him. "Star Rain, if you encounter anything in the future, remember to prioritize your life, understand?" Suyu reminded her profoundly. The Empress Star Rain nodded, her eyes smiling like crescent moons. "I understand, brother. Let's go. Let's drink to celebrate." Suyu had no choice but to be dragged to the pavilion to drink. "I heard that the competition between the descendants of the Time Master is about to begin?" Suyu asked. The Empress Star Rain nodded. "Soon. It will definitely begin in 10 years, or at most 20 years. How will they compete? Will they kill each other?" Suyu pondered. "Who knows?" The Empress Star Rain said bitterly. "The rules are set by the Time Master. As long as he is happy, he can change the rules however he wants." Suyu pondered. If that was the case, the competition would be more difficult. Because it was impossible to set a plan, they could only improvise on the spot. All right, if I can help you, I won't refuse, Suyu said. In the dead of night, the Empress Star Rain was drowsy after drinking. Suyu stood with his arms crossed, waiting outside her room. Nothing could escape Suyu's senses. In the middle of the night, Suyu's closed eyes suddenly opened, and a cold light shot out of them. He sensed an extremely obscure aura slowly approaching the Empress Star Rain. Little Kylan, Suyu bellowed. The little Kylan immediately came out and hid in a corner. Closer! Even closer! With a crash, someone broke in through the window and broke into the Empress Star Rain's room. Suyu flashed over immediately. Without hesitation, he activated the heaven-destroying seal. A destructive power of the Path Master came crashing down. The attacker was obviously not prepared for Suyu to possess such a powerful object. Chapter 2578. However, the sneak attacker's strength was astonishing. Under the Heaven Destroyer seal, he was only lightly injured. He rolled on the ground and ran away. Suyu immediately gave chase. However, just as she was about to give chase, another figure barged in. Taking advantage of the fact that no one was around, he snatched the spatial storage device from Empress Star Rain's hand. However, Empress Star Rain, who was clearly drunk, suddenly opened her clear eyes. Without thinking, she crushed a jade talisman. Although the jade talisman wasn't as high-grade as the incense pouch that Tao Master Tian used to protect himself, the power contained within it far surpassed that of an ordinary Tao Master. The second ambusher was immediately hit and vomited blood. He was instantly heavily injured by Queen Star Rain. He dragged his injured body and ran away in a panic. However, before Empress Star Rain could give chase, the entire roof shattered with a rumble. A third Tao Lord expert appeared, grabbing Empress Star Rain's wrist and seizing her spatial storage tool. The Star Rain Empress was shocked, and just as she was about to fight him to the death, Suyu's warning suddenly appeared in her mind. Their lives were the most important. Left with no choice, he could only allow the other party to snatch away his spatial storage device. However, just as the other party escaped, the little Kylan, who was already prepared, scuttled out from the darkness and opened its mouth to spit out a mouthful of 9 nether jade flames. The Tunnel Master couldn't dodge in time and was hit head-on by the 9 nether jade fire. He screamed miserably as he was burned. This voice. Clearly, Empress Star Rain recognized the origin of the voice and was furious. However, the other party was a Tunnel Master after all, and it was not something that could be killed by a single 9 nether jade fire. Although the other party was injured, he still managed to escape. When the Star Rain Empress chased after him, the other party had already escaped without a trace. Not long after, Suyu also returned. The heaven-decimating seal in his hand was still burning hot. It could be seen that he had used the heaven-decimating seal many times during the chase. Unfortunately, the other party was too strong, and the heaven-destroying seal was unable to do anything. My abyssal crystal! Queen Star Rain squatted on the ground, her eyes brimming with tears. The 9 nether crystals that she had prepared for many years was snatched away by someone again. If word of this got back to the hegemon, she would definitely lose her position as Empress. Why are you crying? It's just a few 9 underworld's crystals. Suyu patted her back. Empress Star Rain raised her head. She wanted to laugh, but she really couldn't. How could that be a bit of netherworld crystal? It was a 9 underworld's crystal worth 50 billion. Where could he find them now? Why don't you take a look at this? Suyu took out a spatial storage artifact and placed it in front of the Star Rain Empress. What? Empress Star Rain was disappointed. Suyu chuckled. Won't you know once you look inside? Queen Star Rain opened her teary eyes and looked inside. But after a glance, Queen Star Rain was so astonished that she jumped up from the ground. Netherworld crystal? So many netherworld crystals. The amount inside was just right, worth exactly 50 billion. This is the one I lost. No. Empress Star Reign's 9 Serenities crystal was generally not of a high grade. However, the grade of the 9 underworld's crystals here was shockingly high. The highest was rank 3 and the lowest was rank 6. It's you. Empress Star Reign opened her small mouth wide and looked at Su Yu in disbelief. Thousands of questions surfaced in his mind. Where did Su Yu get so many 9 underground crystals? Shoo! Let's watch a good show. Su Yu laughed softly. It seemed to be verifying Su Yu's words. The next morning, the emissary of the master who had left came back panting. His face was livid and he scolded, Empress Star Reign, you have disappointed the master. You lost the important netherworld crystal for the second time. Although Empress Star Reign was simple, she was not too stupid. She had strictly ordered the people in the mansion not to tell anyone about the loss of the netherworld crystal. How did the emissary know? Besides, hadn't he already left? How could he suddenly get the news and rush back? It seemed like the emissary had already known in advance that the netherworld crystal would be lost for the second time. I have to enforce the law impartially and report to the master that Empress Star Reign has been incompetent and has repeatedly lost the netherworld crystal, the emissary said angrily and immediately took out the communication jade. Empress Star Reign finally understood why Su Yu had asked her to watch a good show. This emissary was really putting on an act. She slowly took out the space storage device and said with a faint smile, "Who said the netherworld crystal was lost? My netherworld crystal has always been with me. I don't know who told the emissary that my netherworld crystal had been lost." The emissary laughed angrily. "Empress, you don't have to hide it anymore. I already know." Empress Star Reign smiled. She tapped her spatial storage device with her finger, and it immediately opened. 9 Serenities crystals, which were as tall as mountains, tumbled out. If the hall had not been enormous, it would have collapsed from the pressure. The emissary was dumbfounded and could not believe the scene in front of him. You. The emissary was so shocked that he could not speak. Did Empress Star Reign have a backup plan? Impossible. But the netherworld crystal before him left him speechless. "Emissary, you must report the truth and put in a good word for me in front of my father." Empress Star Reign stared at the emissary's face, her heart blooming with joy. The emissary took back the jade. His face flickered with uncertainty for a while, and he cupped his fists and said, "Since the netherworld crystal was not lost, then I shall take my leave." He was about to leave, his face covered in dirt. But Su Yu stopped him. "Emissary, don't be impatient. I want to give you a gift." At that time, in the suburbs, an injured black-robed man sneaked out of the city. "I've got it. Give it to Great Emperor Xiaohao," the black-robed man said to the air. A young man in a gray robe emerged from the darkness and took the space storage device from the black-robed man's hand. He glanced inside and found that there were 50 billion netherworld crystals. "Haha, I've said it before. That silly empress was digging for nothing. She would only be helping Great Emperor Xiaohao's disciple." The young man in the gray robe chuckled. He put away the space storage device and said, "Well, this trip was not in vain. Let's wait and see Empress Star Reign be deposed from her throne. When that time comes, she won't live for long, even without Great Emperor Xiaohao's help." Many forces were secretly hostile to the descendants of the Time Master. If the Star Reign Empress lost her greatest support, the position of Empress, who knew how many forces would emerge from the shadows to kill her. "Let's go." He put on his bamboo hat with satisfaction and prepared to leave the southern part of the Dream Break realm secretly. But after a few steps, he did not hear any movement behind him. He could not help but look back. "Let's go, what are you waiting for?" However, the pupils of the young man in the gray robe contracted little by little, because the strong underworld master in his eyes was standing there motionlessly. On his chest, a bloody palm pierced through his back and pinched his heart in the palm. As he clenched his fist, the heart was crushed. The strong underworld master fell to the ground and died immediately, revealing a woman wearing a bamboo hat behind him. Who are you? The young man in the gray robe swallowed hard.